congratulations on your new show. Big deal, huh?
That's why shows like yours are so important.
Once people realize, when you explain what I just explained about how this is so vague and so ambiguous, it's not popular.
She has to prove it to those people. Those people already know who Donald Trump is. All the pressure's on Kamala Harris.
We trust our leaders here in Florida. We just don't trust our leaders in Washington.
Consumers don't want this stuff, and we need companies to focus on making products and services, not brainwashing people.
We have an independent county elected sheriff that's the head of law enforcement in Jacksonville/Duval County. And I know how to work toward making this city safe.
We can't be shy about speaking on things such as faith and politics. We have to remember, in a free society, the public square belongs to all of us.
Florida's Voice with Drew Steele.
Uh-oh, Brad's buzzed.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, he's starting with the woots. And now a speech.
I just want to say that friendship is about heart and brain. Who's with me?
Good thing is, he knows when he's buzzed.
And my brain is saying, when it's time to go home, somebody call me a ride.
Love that guy.
Me too.
Know your buzzed warning signs? Call for a ride when it's time to go home. Buzz driving is drunk driving. A message from NHTSA and the Ad Council.
Hey, it's Drew Steele with an offer that can help steer your retirement in the right direction. Look, we're going to navigate the turbulent waters of 24 with this financial uncertainties and shifting tides. Having expert guidance is more crucial than ever, and that's where my good friend Alfie Townsend comes in. As Southwest Florida's certified financial planner professional, Alfie brings expert knowledge and insight. His latest book, Making Waves in Retirement, isn't just a guide. It's your navigational compass for mastering the financial seas. With decades of experience, Alfie has crafted a powerful roadmap to help you chart your course and make impactful waves in your retirement. Look, for a limited time, you can claim your free copy of this valuable guide. That's right, no cost. This book is more than just pages. It's your blueprint for a prosperous and fulfilling retirement. Don't let this opportunity drift by. Text book to 239-747-1080. That's book to 239-747-1080. Look, secure your free copy today. Let's make 24 the year you confidently navigate towards a brighter financial future. Text book to 239-747-1080.
In Iraq, our truck hit a roadside bomb. I had about 16 surgeries on my hand so that I could regain function. And when I came home, I needed a new roof due to a storm. And I was about to lose homeowners insurance as well. I applied for Operation Homefront Critical Financial Assistance Program. And it's good to know that when we come home, there are people who are there that care about us. Operation Homefront, they've really been a blessing.
Visit operationhomefront.org to learn more.
We're with Bridget, whose husband won't be home for months, and whose daughter is due any day. We're with Mike, who's leaving home to protect his family and yours. We're with all service members and their families who need community, connection, and maybe a bit of magic. Are you with them? Learn more at uso.org today. We're with Liam after his 4th military move, when being new is starting to get old. We're with Tara during the holidays, when she misses home the most. We're with all service members and their families who need connection, comfort, and a home away from home. Are you with them? Learn more at uso.org today.
You can't escape a traffic jam. Know what else you can't escape? Seasonal allergies. And you might think you can avoid that coffee stain until... Oh, really? You can't escape a lot of things in life, but you can escape prediabetes. Prediabetes captures 1 in 3 adults. There are usually no signs of prediabetes. In fact, most people don't even know they have it. But with early diagnosis, you can change the outcome and prevent or delay type 2 diabetes. Take action by taking the 1-minute risk test at doihaveprediabetes.org. You might not be able to escape having this song stuck in your head, but you can escape prediabetes. Go to doihaveprediabetes.org today. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention.
What I know about courage, I learned from my adoptive mom.
She said sometimes you just gotta hold on and know we'll get through this. Mom, we are so high up. Hold my hand.
No, you hold my hand.
Here we go.
Learn about adopting a teen from foster care. You can't imagine the reward. Visit adoptuskids.org to find out more.
I learned patience from my adoptive dad. All he had to say was,
"Hey, you got this. Just breathe." Hey, we're pretty good.
Yeah.
Might have to start a band.
I got it.
Learn about adopting a teen from foster care. You can't imagine the reward. Visit adoptuskids.org to find out more. This message is brought to you by Adopt US Kids, the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, and the Ad Council.
Thank you for waking us all up out here, for all you do.
Thank you for giving us a voice.
For being out there helping keep the constitutional republic. I want to thank you for
Your support for veterans in the military.
educating us,
Standing up for conservatism.
giving us the truth.
Florida's Voice with Drew Steele.
All right, so how was your weekend? How did it go? Hope you had a nice weekend. A lot of people were staying up late watching NFL football. You know, the NFL is back. People getting excited about it. Yeah, I know. I'll get it. Yeah, not the old school football. I mean, I know we can't. I just can't help. I love that theme. I love the old NFL football theme, and now it's like I don't even know what it is. Now it depends on what time you get there during the game to find out which anthem you're going to hear, and then I don't know, people getting arrested before they go into the game. It's just a weird dynamic. Anyway. First, let's go to Big D, Derek, back in the studio. You good? Derek, how was your weekend? Are you feeling good this morning?
I'm feeling pretty good. Happy Monday, Drew. Weekend was decent.
Okay. Yeah, it's a happy Monday. And many people were watching football, you might say Florida football, because everybody was playing. And, hey, we did pretty good, right? I mean, if you're a Jags fan, maybe obviously it didn't go so well for you. But, let's be honest. Between the Bucks, between the Jags, between the Dolphins, got some pretty good teams. They're looking pretty good. And the only well, I know you had the scores, right? Didn't you say, Derek, you the scores of the game, just in case people were wondering if you're waking up? I don't know how you could not know if you're an NFL fan.
Yeah, scores.
Yep. Okay. Hold on. It's a weird way to open up the program. Here you go. All right, here's Big D with his. Go ahead, just quickly. I just wanted to mention this. Go ahead.
Yeah, real quick. Just Florida teams recovering. Jaguars and Dolphins. Dolphins 20-17, just a last-second field goal.
Yeah.
So back and forth. Good back and forth game all day. And then Buccaneers actually beat the Commanders 37-20, and that's actually the second most points scored in the NFL in Week 1. So the Buccaneers look promising. I don't want to say promising because it's still Week 1, but they look good.
Yeah, everybody looked good. Well, I mean, all the Florida teams look good. I mean, we can go into some of the other teams and some of the other play. I mean, listen, if you're a let's just put it this way, I'm a New York Giants fan, and so I'm done. I quit. Is there anybody? I'm quickly becoming a Florida sport team. I'll pick any of them. Doesn't matter. I've got a better chance with every single Florida team than you do with the Giants. But then the Tyreek Hill thing was kind of odd. And look, I don't want to get too deep into this story, and maybe D has some thoughts on it. But you got Tyreek Hill before the game from the Dolphins gets detained by police because I guess he was driving. It was a driving violation. I guess he was speeding on the way to the game. So just a couple of observations. The first thing is you can't speed. That's a bad thing. Speeding to the game, officers see you speeding. They don't know who's behind the wheel, and ultimately you're going to get pulled over. Now, what happens after the fact? The talk was Tyreek Hill didn't do anything wrong except speed, I guess. And for some reason, he was on his belly. He was cuffed. They said that officers were moving aggressively towards him. He had no idea why they put him in handcuffs, talked about it being crazy. As a matter of fact, he scored an 80-yard touchdown during the game, and then I guess mockingly in the end zone, his end zone dance was putting his hands behind his back and being cuffed. Okay, look, we'll find out more as the days progress, certainly. But at first blush, what are the first things you think about? Number one, I'm not sure if officers would put somebody on the ground and then take him into custody for just a little bit if something didn't happen. I mean, if there was some kind of altercation. He's claiming he didn't cuss, he didn't do anything like that, he wasn't being disrespectful. They're still trying to figure out what happened. I know one was on administrative leave, an officer was. So I guess we'll find out more. But it's just one of those things, like I said, at first blush, where listen, it's a good, valuable lesson for the kids, right? I mean, really, when it comes down to it, kids, listen, don't speed, even if you're late for the game and you're in the game, and don't do drugs, and say no to Amendment 3. Okay, there you go. I think we covered all the bases. So that's it. So there's your NFL update for this morning. Need I say more? No. Yeah, it's okay. All right, we're fine. Okay, we get it. That's it. All right, coming up this morning, it's going to be interesting because I wonder what Florida Republicans are going to say about Ron DeSantis calling them out. Well, not every single Republican being called out, but many of them were. DeSantis naming names. Like, is it about time that in the state of Florida, with all the things that are going on, all the important issues, make no mistake about this, everybody, the amendment process and the fact that people, when they don't get what they want, use the amendment process here in the state of Florida to get what they want, can be a very dangerous thing, especially when you know in the language of Amendment 3 and Amendment 4 that you come to find out that everything you think is in there or you think it's about, turns out it's not, because they are leaving a lot out, making it very vague. Some of the things about recreational marijuana maybe you didn't know about in the amendment itself. Again, don't focus on marijuana. Don't focus on, I just want to do it. It should be legalized. I mean, everybody else is doing it. That's the kind of, like, if everybody's jumping off the bridge analogy, and you don't want to do that, right? When you're a kid, hey, if everybody says, Johnny jumps off the bridge, you're going to jump off the bridge? Well, am I in trouble? Or, like, if I'm on the bridge and I'm in trouble, I might need to jump off the bridge. Well, no, really. Don't make it about marijuana. Make it about the amendment process. Think about the people that are behind it. And here's the thing. The governor went right after it. Not only talked about who's behind a lot of these amendments, but called out the GOP and specific people, well, that were named on the plus side, but on the opposite side, hey now. So that's a big deal. And we're going to talk about that coming up in just a bit. All right, speaking of big deals, I don't know how many of you know this, but we're on the eve of what will be a debate. I'm laughing because is it really going to be a debate? It should be Donald Trump just standing there answering questions and Kamala Harris trying to figure out, like, everybody's pronouncing my name right, aren't they? I mean,
it's not Kamala, it's not Kamala, it's Kamala. Kamala Harris.
Yeah, I just want to make sure that it's right, because, you know, if you mispronounce her name, it could be trouble. But anyway. So we're on the eve of what is a huge debate. I mean, this should, by all accounts, be the I don't want to say the nail in the coffin, because that's not really fair. Let's be fair about it. It should be the moment where people go, oh, no wonder why nobody ever wanted to vote for her, even when she was running in 2019 during the primaries and in 2020 and wanted to be a presidential candidate, and nobody ever put a vote for her on the Democrat side during the prime. Oh, now I get it. Okay, because when she speaks, it's like, hey, I'm not really sure if I'm down with this, or I'm really not sure if I understand what you're trying to say, or I'm not really sure if you know what you're trying to say. So here we are on the eve of this important debate. And she's in a Pittsburgh hotel practicing, going to the drawing board, as it's been discussed, and trying to figure out what to do now, because they weren't able to open up the microphones. They thought there was going to be this viral moment where Kamala would be able to do the I'm speaking, you know, that kind of thing. And she's not going to be able to do that. She's not going to have one of those gotcha viral moments. So now they have to figure out another way to create that viral moment. And how are they going to do it? Well, they're practicing in this hotel. They've got what they're calling a Trump impersonator. Now, I'm laughing because in politics in general, they do this, right? They have someone who is playing the part of your opponent on stage as you do the debate prep. And I'm not sure in the history of mankind if we've ever had a moment where you could look at the discussion of a impersonator, let's say, quote unquote, of your candidate and think to yourself, are they doing the whole thing? Are they doing the whole wig? And are they going to have the suit with the red tie and the same size? And are they going to have him like saying things a specific way and Trumpisms? I mean, I don't know. I just picture that. I picture them bringing somebody out like that, right? It's not going to be, mano a mano. It's going to be really tough. Let's figure out how he's in. They bring out a caricature of Trump and they can't even make a serious face when it's all going on. I just picture it happening like that. Highly choreographed debate practice sessions before the clash on Tuesday night. A stage and a replica TV lighting, an advisor, a dude that's dressed up like Trump. Okay. Philip Raines is the person that's playing Trump, and he dressed up like him, but he didn't put on an orange face or a wig. Oh, okay. Thanks. Yeah, great. Okay, we get it. Now, are they feeling it? Are they feeling like they're going to be able to have this debate prep and it's going to be good? I don't know.
We know that Vice President Kamala Harris, she is in her hotel in Pittsburgh. They've got the lights as if it's in a studio. They've got the stage. They've even brought in somebody who's dressed and acting like the former president. And then we know that the former president himself is just having sort of informal policy discussions from what we understand in preparation.
Okay, so that was Fox News' report on it. On MSNBC, there was was one of the Kamala Harris advisors, right? Wasn't that who was on? If I'm not mistaken, let me see if I can pull up that audio as they were getting ready to prep. Yeah, here you go. It's Quentin Fulks. He's a top Harris intern who was on MSNBC over the weekend. And how does he feel like it's going?
Well, look, all jokes aside, we are taking this extremely seriously. Donald Trump is a skilled debater. He has been in the most presidential debates of any candidate in presidential history. This will be the vice president's first presidential debate as the nominee. And so, we know that Donald Trump is preparing, as he has been for weeks. And so he's going to come ready.
Now, I'm just asking, does that sound like a camp that sounds confident? Because all I heard was a lot of positives about Donald Trump, and it's almost like you're setting the bar really low. Like, let's not get carried away. I mean, it might be rough. We might have a tough time here. So that is the top Harris intern. Quentin Fulks is like, hey, he's really skilled. He's done this a bunch of times. She doesn't even know. She's hardly in tune. And I mean, where are we going with this? So you have that discussion right now, the highly choreographed part, the people playing Trump, the people in the Kamala Harris camp who are lowering expectations, right? And who is she trying to connect with? How are they going to make a connection, I guess, to who? And there's some interesting crosstabs on the numbers that really tell the story about this election and who needs to come out. And it really is about the turnout. By the way, I guess this was over the weekend. Drew Hernandez on X had this video with Kamala Harris. They're at a spice store, and the press wanted to ask questions about debate prep.
President, are you ready to face Donald Trump?
Yes, I am. Yes.
Best part of debate prep for you? What's your favorite?
Being at the spice store, I finally got out of the debate prep to look at these spices. Best part of debate prep so far.
No wonder why they are lowering expectations and feel really worried. Yeah, so there's Kamala Harris at a spice store who said the best part of her debate prep is being at the spice store. Laugh, laugh, cackle, cackle,
It's not Kamala.
I know.
It's not Kamala.
Yeah.
It's Kamala.
We know. Okay. So that's right. It's about being at the spice store. Oh, my. Like, this is huge. They know it. You know it. I know it. We all know that this is going to be the moment. And boy, we're going to take away some audio. We're going to have some clips. And man, is Wednesday's show going to be fun. I cannot wait for that. But they know how serious this is. except it doesn't feel like, well, I mean, it feels like they're serious, but the serious thing and the thing to take away is, what do the numbers look like? Look, we can talk all we want about what we think that the debate is going to be like. We can talk all we want about how Trump should approach this. It's pretty simple. Let her talk. Just let her go. I think somebody over the weekend on one of the Talking Head programs was saying that the same thing. I don't remember which legislator. Was it John Cornyn? I think it was John Cornyn over the weekend. It was like, this is how we should do it. Just let her talk. Let her talk. Let her do her thing. And everybody will see exactly where she stands, exactly how little she knows. And then the numbers now, as we see in some of these polls, the national polls, New York Times, Siena crosstabs out there. I'm going to get to that in just a second. But the Nate Silver numbers. Now, for those that don't know, Nate Silver, 538, is a very popular website for all of the poll numbers throughout these big election cycles. Nate Silver, a lot of people leaning on him to see what the numbers look like. And just as of yesterday, some of the latest from Nate Silver in the polling suggests that Trump right now is at an all-time high as far as who is favored to win the presidency, the Electoral College probability. So the probability numbers we're talking about. The probability numbers are at 63.8% to Harris's 36%. Some would say that's huge, bigly. I don't know how you want to say it. She is losing in every single swing state, according to Nate Silver's 538 forecast. And the chance of winning in the poly markets. Trump is up in Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, Arizona, North Carolina, Georgia, Nevada. The odds right now of Trump winning are 52 to 46%. The numbers keep going in opposite directions. Trump's rising and Kamala Harris is falling. And I can't tell you how many people over the weekend have said probably the same thing they said to you. Something's going to happen. Something's got to give. I mean, what else can you possibly do right now? I think it was Vivek Ramaswamy who just a couple of days ago was like, look, with all of the numbers shaking out the way they are right now, with everything that we're getting ready to see that's coming up, I don't know what else is left. What else can they possibly do? There was even discussion about possibly taking the time to take Kamala Harris off. They're going to find somebody else at the last minute. Like the DNC has set it up where it could be like, hey, what time is it? We still have time. Like they literally have given themselves time to get her off the ballot. I mean, that's how crazy it is that even you're having that kind of discussion. That's how desperately they want to cling to power. Whatever it is that they can do, they're willing to do it. But it's looking worse and worse by the day. And then you get to the crosstabs, and here's where it really gets interesting. So you have the New York Times Siena crosstabs that look at age, demographics, and you see that according to New York Times Siena crosstabs, it's close. You got Trump 48 to Harris 47. Full ballot with Jill Stein and others 47 to 45. Now, if you look at the crosstabs and Biden in 2020, the Biden 2020 voters, Harris is up 92 to 6. The Trump 2020 voters, Trump is up 97 to 2 and did not vote in 2020. Trump's up 49 to 40. So what does that mean? That means that, man, you got to get out. Man, you've got to get people not only that voted the last time 2020 for Trump, but you have to find people who didn't vote in 2020 and convince them that, listen, you know as well as I do exactly what's going on each and every day, where you may feel like, oh, I want to hear what Kamala Harris says. After the DNC, oh, I don't know. There's a little bit of a buzz with, the excitement of a convention, and maybe there was a little bit of a bump. Although really didn't see that. But maybe for some people, it's like, I might want to revisit it. Only to find out that after the day is over and you've got this little bit of a sugar rush, what ends up happening after a sugar rush? Well, there's the sugar rush crash that everybody knows about. But in politics and life, there's the realization that what? The groceries still are astronomical. Like, I can't even believe how much I'm paying for eggs. Did it again this weekend. I go to get eggs on Saturday morning to make my son some breakfast, and I don't know where to turn. I can't even believe the prices. I don't want to get used to these prices. You know, the left would like you to get used to the way everything is. This is just the new norm. How many times did Barack Obama say that this is the new norm? Right? So this whole idea of the new norm, just get used to it, get used to prices. Yeah, so I'm not into that. But that's what happens. You come down from this sugar rush, whether it's a Democrat or whether it's somebody who's like, hey, maybe I want to check this out. And ultimately, reality hits. And you see what's happening with groceries. You know what's going on with fuel. You know what's going on for the things that you are doing every single day. And how you're wondering when all of this is going to end. You've got Trump 56-39 up with men. You've got Harris 53-42 up with women. So the men have to get out. Democrats, Harris 93-4, GOP, Trump 94-5. Independents, it's pretty close, but Harris is up with the independents 48-44. And then the divide amongst the age groups. So 18 to 44, Harris is up 7 or 8 points. 45 and up, Trump's up 7 to 8 points. I guess ultimately when you see the crosstabs and you see everything that's shaking out, here's what you realize. That turnout is going to be crucial. Big time. People that you know that didn't go out and vote in 2020 are leaning towards Trump almost by 10 points. Man, you've got to find those individuals. You've got to find those people that you know that are not sure, maybe, like I said, didn't vote at all in 2020, and you've got to find them and you've got to have a conversation with them. You got to let them know everything that's going on right now. And speaking of everything that's going on right now, finally, it happened. It's there. I checked it out because I kept looking and thinking, all right, well, sooner or later, the Harris-Walz campaign has to put something out on their website. Something's got to be out there as far as the issues is concerned. And remember, everybody was talking about how there's nothing on the website. There's nothing on the website. When are you going to talk about the issues? They finally put something up. And the humorous part about what they put up, going through all the things that they believe need to be done, and it's like a who's who of the left. It's a who's who of the Democrat Party. It's nothing new under the sun here. But all over it is Trump's Project 2025 agenda. Which I think is funny because, again, I mentioned this before. Project 2025. I want you to be honest with me. Be honest with me. Be honest with yourself. How many people know what that is? How many people think they have an idea of what Project 2025 is? Like the leaning on the people really don't know what's going on side of things. They're really doing that. We'll have more on that coming up. All right, let's take a break. When we come back, we'll get the state headlines from the Florida's Voice newsroom and more coming up. This is Florida's Voice with Drew Steele.
You're listening to Florida's Voice with Drew Steele.
I'm Chris Jakimick. I served in the United States Air Force and I deployed 3 times. Being a veteran, it's interwoven into your DNA. It is really the absence of the connection and the purpose that can really drive a lot of veterans to some negative thoughts. For those who are in a suicidal crisis, the window of time to save somebody's life is very short. Our duty is to protect ourselves and protect our families. And one way you can do that is store your weapons safely. Store all your guns securely. Help stop suicide.
Brought to you by End Family Fire and the Ad Council.
We're with Bridget, whose husband won't be home for months, and whose daughter is due any day. We're with Mike, who's leaving home to protect his family and yours. We're with all service members and their families who need community, connection, and maybe a bit of magic. Are you with them? Learn more at uso.org today. We're with Liam after his 4th military move. When being new is starting to get old. We're with Tara during the holidays when she misses home the most. We're with all service members and their families who need connection, comfort, and a home away from home. Are you with them? Learn more at uso.org today.
What I know about courage, I learned from my adoptive mom. She said sometimes you just gotta hold on and know we'll get through this. Mom, we are so high up. Hold my hand.
No, you hold my hand.
Here we go.
Learn about adopting a teen from foster care. You can't imagine the reward. Visit adoptuskids.org to find out more.
I learned patience from my adoptive dad. All he had to say was,
"Hey, you got this. Just breathe." Hey, we're pretty good.
Yeah.
Might have to start a band.
I got it.
Learn about adopting a teen from foster care. You can't imagine the reward. Visit adoptuskids.org to find out more. This message is brought to you by Adopt US Kids, the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, and the Ad Council.
You can't escape a traffic jam. Know what else you can't escape? Seasonal allergies. And you might think you can avoid that coffee stain until... Oh, really? You can't escape a lot of things in life, but you can escape prediabetes. Prediabetes captures 1 in 3 adults. There are usually no signs of prediabetes. In fact, most people don't even know they have it. But with early diagnosis, you can change the outcome and prevent or delay type 2 diabetes. Take action by taking the 1-minute risk test at doihaveprediabetes.org. You might not be able to escape having this song stuck in your head, but you can escape prediabetes. Go to doihaveprediabetes.org today. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention.
Hi, I'm Ryan Blaney, a third-generation race car driver, and we dedicate a lot of our time to going as fast as possible. My grandpa Lou is the reason why my dad and I started racing, and I'm really proud to follow in his tracks. But when my grandpa was diagnosed with Alzheimer's, it was a very unexpected bump in the road for us. I've learned a lot on this journey with my grandpa Lou, and the memories of my grandpa will always be with me. And in our family, we're used to getting involved, and I encourage you to do the same, especially when it comes to caring for your loved ones. When I think about Alzheimer's and the impact it had on my family, I recognize that losing a race isn't such a bad day after all. It's important to notice if older family members are acting differently, experiencing problems with their memory, or having trouble with routine tasks. Talking about Alzheimer's can be really tough, but if you notice something, have a conversation with your loved one. Encourage them to see a doctor or offer to go with them. Early detection of Alzheimer's can give your family time to explore support services, make a plan for the future, and access available treatments. If you or your family are noticing changes, it could be Alzheimer's. Talk about seeing a doctor together.
To some, the sound of a baby babbling doesn't mean much, but that's not true. They're testing out vowels and consonants and trying different sounds. And by 12 months, their babbling is beginning to take on meaning, especially if there's no babbling at all. Little to no babbling by 12 months or later is just one of the possible signs of autism in children. Learn more at autismspeaks.org.
Hey, it's Drew Steele with a game-changing offer for those ready to master their retirement journey. Look, we're going to navigate unpredictable waters in 24, an election year marked by financial uncertainty. It's crucial. You've got to have expert guidance. That's where my good friend Alfie Townsend comes in. The Southwest Florida Certified Financial Planner Professional, Alfie brings unparalleled experience and insight to the table. His latest book, Making Waves in Retirement, it's not just a guide. It's your strategic compass for navigating the financial seas with confidence. Look, with decades of experience, Alfie has created a powerful roadmap. It'll help you chart your course and make meaningful waves in your retirement. And for a limited time, you can get your hands on this book free. That's right, no cost. The book is more than just a collection of stories. It's a blueprint for achieving a prosperous and fulfilling retirement. So don't miss out. Text book to 239-747-1080 right now. It's book to 239-747-1080 and claim your free copy today. Let's make 24 the year you confidently steer towards a brighter financial future. Text book to 239-747-1080.
Now, back to Florida's Voice with Drew Steele.
All right, coming up, it's a lot of Dick Cheney talk, which is really weird. Dick Cheney and Mitt Romney and all these Republicans that don't want to vote for Trump. Okay. And I'm supposed to feel bad about Dick Cheney not wanting to vote for Donald Trump because, yeah, we'll fill in the blank together. All right, in the meantime, let's find out what's going on in the Florida's Voice newsroom. Let's get to the top of the news across the state.
Top of the news, Florida's headlines.
Now. All right. Eric Daughtry has everything we need to know. Eric, what's going on?
Good morning, Drew, and good morning to our listeners. Here are some of the top stories we are following here right now in the newsroom at Florida's Voice. Good news for former President Donald Trump, who is currently ahead in what you might say is a big pot of polls, especially here in Florida, which is considered a crucial state for him. Trump has a 5-point lead over Kamala Harris, and this isn't just one poll saying it either. In fact, this is a blend of many polls showing he has a slight but notable edge over Harris. What that means is he has a head start in a marathon, but the race isn't over until November 5th, and a lot can change between now and then. Polls can swing, voters can change their minds, and even though we're about 8 weeks away from the general election, it's still a long road when you are the one on the campaign trail. By the way, the aggregate polling also shows Senator Rick Scott is in a much tighter race than previously anticipated. The latest poll finding him with a 1-point lead over his Democratic opponent, Debbie McCarcel-Powell. Now, it remains to be seen whether this race will be a nail-biter or if Senator Scott will simply run away with it. Speaking of the presidential race, the first debate between Trump and Harris is tomorrow. ABC will air the showdown after much back and forth between both sides over the particulars on how it will actually go down. Microphones will be muted when one candidate isn't speaking, which was a sticking point during those negotiations. ABC anchors David Muir and Lindsay Davis will be the moderators, kicking off at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. Governor Ron DeSantis is getting big kudos from a nonprofit conservative organization for his work in dismantling DEI at colleges and universities across Florida. The group Building America's Future says DeSantis and 4 other governors in the nation are to be honored for informing Americans about what they say are harmful impacts of DEI or diversity, equity, and inclusion programs. The group says DEI programs undermine what makes America great. They say hard work and integrity define a success, not skin color or identity. The other governors named by the group are Alabama's Kay Ivey, Greg Abbott of Texas, Kevin Stitt of Oklahoma, and Governor Spencer Cox of Utah. Big praise for a small town in Florida. Stuart, Florida has just been named the nation's best small retirement town in a report from Travel and Leisure. Late last week, they put out a list of America's best small towns of 2024, and Stuart came out on top. The East Coast town, which is north of Jupiter and not far from Port St. Lucie, is being called a hidden gem for its diverse activities, lodging, festivities, and tourism initiatives. Some of the perks for retirees, according to the publication, are the pristine beaches, many of them being dog-friendly, the shopping, the dining, and the historic sites. About 20,000 people currently live in Stuart. Those are just some of the stories we're following for you this morning. I'm Eric Daughtry, Assistant News Director for Florida's Voice. Have a great morning.
All right, you too. Thanks, Eric. Appreciate you. A hidden gem. Stuart is a hidden gem. Who knew? I don't know. Big D, Derek, back in the studio. Did you know that Stuart, Florida was a hidden gem? I did not know that.
I had no idea.
I know. It's so forgive me. Listen, if you live in Stuart, and of course we are across the state, Florida's Voice with Drew Steele. We appreciate everybody across the state listening. And if you're listening right now in Stuart, I apologize. It was it's such a hidden gem there in Stuart that we're talking about the fact that it was hidden for so long. I didn't know, and it is a gem. And I guess what is if dog-friendly beaches and some other things. No, it's nice. It's nice that Stuart is recognized, and a lot of other things that we do here in the state of Florida being recognized as well. One of them came up this weekend, and can I just mention this quickly before we move on? Is the Florida Man Games. I don't know why this popped up on my feed. Derek, do you know what I'm talking about? The Florida Man Games? I mean, maybe you didn't know about it before today, but you know about it now because I brought it up to you a little earlier. How about the Florida Man Games?
Well, now I'm very aware of what they are. I've got the site open here. It is absolutely insane. I can't believe some of the things they do on this.
Now, I remember, I'm trying to think of how long ago it was, Derek. It was probably the beginning of the year when people were joking about it. They were saying, wouldn't it be fun if you had Florida Man games? And then some dude came up with these crazy ideas for different things that you can do as the games, the competition, Florida Man games, like evading arrest obstacle course and the weaponized pool noodle mud duel and the Florida sumo cage match and beer pitcher choke. Like all of those things. It's pretty funny stuff. And for some reason, I guess it's not until March that it actually happens, but they are literally competing in what people have described as the quote unquote the Florida Man games. And it is too funny. It really is. I think it's great. So yeah, all of that going down. And you didn't know anything about it, right? You had no idea.
I had no idea. But yeah, my favorite one I see on here is a hurricane party prep grocery aisle brawl. That sounds exciting.
Yeah. No, good stuff. So I enjoyed seeing that. All right. Anyway, enough of that. Let's get into some of the other headlines that we've got going right now. What else do we have? Transition me. All right. So I saw that people were talking over the weekend about another Republican, quote unquote, that's not going to vote for Donald Trump. Okay. So what's going on now? So we have the talk of Dick Cheney. Dick Cheney, who now has decided, along with Liz Cheney, that the two of them, neither one of them have any desire to vote for Donald Trump. Okay, and a lot of people are like, like, really? This is what you're trying to get all excited about? That Dick Cheney, along with Liz Cheney, along with Adam Kinzinger, along with Mitt Romney, and some others. I think Paul Ryan, not going to vote for Trump. Not going to vote for Trump. We're not going to vote for Trump. And then you have to ask yourself, really? So you're not going to vote for Trump and you want to vote for the alternative. Like, not only are you not going to vote for Trump, but somehow you're going to convince us that the best person to vote for is Kamala Harris? I mean, is that really your suggestion? Are you really saying that? And yeah, that's what they're saying. Now remember, it's the same Dick Cheney that the Democrat Party not too long ago. I mean, a very coherent Joe Biden, not what we're hearing right now.
Lion, dog face, pony shoulder.
I haven't even said anything about what exactly I'm talking about. In 2008, a very coherent Joe Biden was talking about Dick Cheney. I don't know if you remember this.
President Cheney interpretation of the vice president?
Vice President Cheney's been the most dangerous vice president we've had probably in American history.
That's a coherent Joe Biden who said he's the most dangerous in American history. That would be Dick Cheney. And there's the party, and there are some Republicans now who are looking at Dick Cheney and saying, well, wherever Dick Cheney goes on this, we're going to go along with him. And then there are Democrats that are like, yeah, I mean, hey, Dick Cheney, how about that? Well, there are a lot of people that say you can have him. I mean, seriously, like, are we really doing that? Is that what we're following now? So Dick Cheney and Liz Cheney, Mitt Romney and Paul Ryan are all saying that they're not going to vote for Donald Trump. And in some cases are full out saying they're going to vote for Kamala Harris. Okay, so a couple of things come to mind. The first thing that comes to mind is, and this is important, do you really have Trump derangement syndrome that bad? Are you really in this place? Seriously, do you have it that bad that you would much rather vote for Kamala Harris? You would much rather vote, if not for the status quo, at least, but leaning into what is the Marxist socialist ideology that is coming out of the party right now. A party which many, quote unquote, moderate Democrats or, the traditional liberals, if you will, are saying, I can't do this anymore. Right? Wasn't it? Who was it recently? I think it was, wasn't it Alan Dershowitz? I think Alan Dershowitz just the other day said he's no longer going to be a Democrat.
So are you ready to leave the Democratic Party?
Democratic Party. I am no longer a Democrat. I am an independent. I'll decide who to vote for at the last minute based on totality of the circumstances. I want to see how they deal with Iran. I want to see how they deal if Iran attacks the United States. I want to encourage the current administration to support Israel. So I'm not revealing my vote until, maybe November 1st. Great to hear all the information, all the evidence, but I'm no longer a member of the Democratic Party.
Okay, so that was Alan Dershowitz on a podcast, I guess, over the weekend or on Friday, saying, yeah, he's no longer going to be a Democrat. And you heard some of the reasons. And I guess he's waiting for what? You're waiting for something to change as far as what's going on with Iran, what's going on with Israel, and where the Democrat Party stands. I think we already pretty much have a feel as to where they stand and what they are doing. Where they stand seems to be with what he saw a lot of, the fine people outside of the DNC that were pro-Hamas protesters that were saying some of the most vile things outside of the DNC, along with some of the most vile things that were happening, including vasectomies and abortions on the go. No, I'm not kidding. Let's not forget that part. I don't know where Alan Dershowitz stands on that. But the fact is that there are a lot of people that weren't really too excited about that either, as far as the DNC is concerned. Like, really? Is that what you're doing? Mobile abortions and vasectomies to prove who you are and where you stand. But anyway, so now we're told with Dick Cheney, I mean, could this move the needle? I mean, this seems huge. But what's going on? And I wonder if Tucker Carlson really had the answer. He's been going around the country. Tucker Carlson has been doing a lot of these different events. I know recently he had Russell Brand with him. I know Dan Bongino is going to be out there with him. I know Tulsi Gabbard is out there with him, doing all of these different events around the country. And maybe this is the most straightforward assessment of what he sees when it comes to Dick Cheney. And why in the world would he endorse Kamala Harris?
What they actually care about is the ability to continue to fight pointless wars, because that's where all the money is. That's where all the money is. And if you don't believe it, maybe you haven't checked your phone today to see that Dick Cheney and his horrible daughter have endorsed Kamala Harris. Dick Cheney. Now, why is that? What does Dick Cheney have in common with Kamala Harris? And it's really interesting, actually, because they're constantly telling us that the divides are along race and gender. And they were always telling us Dick Cheney is this rich white guy, and Kamala Harris is this oppressed woman of color. They've got nothing in common. But actually, they have everything in common. Because they're both neocons. That's exactly right. They have everything in common. And it tells you what a lie this race and gender stuff is. That's not the divide. The divide is in your heart. And if you think it's okay to kill people in order to get rich, you're on their side. And if you don't, you're on our side, no matter what you look like.
Whoa, what do you think about that? So that's Tucker Carlson is like, why in the world would if Dick Cheney is not into socialism and communism and Marxism, a lot of what the left is into and a lot of what Kamala Harris was apparently raised on. I mean, if you look at her history and her dad and the literature that her mom was bringing home when she was younger, the different leftist-leaning literature that was talked about on CNN at the time, and back in, 2019, I believe, was the CNN interview with family members and talking about how left-leaning they were. Is that right? So the other thing you would have in common would be siding with continuous wars and Donald Trump saying, hey, listen, I'd like to bring peace to Ukraine and Russia. Is anybody talking about peace? When's the last time you heard that conversation happening? I mean, let's be honest. Wow. All right. 866-588-8303.
You're listening to Florida's Voice with Drew Steele.
Babes,
What are you doing?
What? I'm just mowing the lawn.
No, it's blazing hot and dry out here. Don't you remember? Smokey Bear says.
Avoid using power equipment when it's windy or dry.
Where'd you learn this?
Oh, it's on
SmokeyBear.com with many other wildfire prevention tips.
Right. Thanks, Honey Bear.
Because remember, only you can prevent wildfires.
Brought to you by the USDA Forest Service, your state forester, and the Ad Council.
All right, son. Time to put out this campfire.
Dad, we learned about this in school.
Oh, did you now? Okay. What's first?
Smokey Bear said to.
First drown it with a bucket of water, then stir it with a shovel.
Wow, you sound just like him.
Then he said.
If it's still warm, then do it again.
Where can I learn all this?
It's all on SmokeyBear.com with other wildfire prevention tips, because only you can prevent wildfires.
Brought to you by the USDA Forest Service, your state forester, and the Ad Council.
Are you prepared for an emergency or disaster? Because it's not a matter of if, but when. Don't find yourself saying,
I'll trust water bottles and a flashlight to save the day, but I'll be proved wrong.
With a tornado approaching, I'll realize that I like a wheelchair-accessible shelter.
When the floodwaters rise, I'll be up in the attic with 20 cans of beans. It's a recipe for disaster.
let's prepare so we all have a better story to tell. Get started at ready.gov/older-adults. Brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council. Are you prepared for an emergency or disaster? Because it's not a matter of if, but when. Don't find yourself saying,
when the storm rolls in, my time to find a pet-friendly evacuation center will have run out.
The scorching heat wave will leave me powerless to cool my insulin.
I'll face a hurricane without meds. Now that's a tough pill to swallow.
Let's prepare so we all have a better story to tell. Get started at ready.gov/older-adults. Brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council.
Hi, I'm Ryan Blaney, a third-generation race car driver. And we dedicate a lot of our time to going as fast as possible. My grandpa Lou is the reason why my dad and I started racing, and I'm really proud to follow in his tracks. But when my grandpa was diagnosed with Alzheimer's, it was a very unexpected bump in the road for us. I've learned a lot on this journey with my grandpa Lou, and the memories of my grandpa will always be with me. And in our family, we're used to getting involved, and I encourage you to do the same, especially when it comes to caring for your loved ones. When I think about Alzheimer's and the impact it had on my family, I recognize that losing a race isn't such a bad day after all. It's important to notice if older family members are acting differently, experiencing problems with their memory, or having trouble with routine tasks. Talking about Alzheimer's can be really tough, but if you notice something, have a conversation with your loved one. Encourage them to see a doctor or offer to go with them. Early detection of Alzheimer's can give your family time to explore support services, make a plan for the future, and access available treatments. If you or your family are noticing changes, it could be Alzheimer's. Talk about seeing a doctor together.
We're with Bridget, whose husband won't be home for months, and whose daughter is due any day. We're with Mike, who's leaving home to protect his family and yours. We're with all service members and their families who need community, connection, and maybe a bit of magic. Are you with them? Learn more at uso.org today. We're with Liam after his 4th military move, when being new is starting to get old. We're with Tara during the holidays, when she misses home the most. We're with all service members and their families who need connection, comfort, and a home away from home. Are you with them? Learn more at uso.org today.
Now, back to Florida's Voice with Drew Steele.
Here's my question. Yesterday, the NFL season started. Now, in the past, Taylor Swift was... She was always in the same box with Brittany Mahomes. And now, they can't sit in the same box. I guess because Brittany liked some of Trump's tweets, and Taylor's for Kamala. Don't you think partisanship has gone too far?
But not for that reason, but all right, I don't really know, what was being said beforehand, that they were laughing about that Bill Maher, who, by the way, is one of those Hollywood guys. He's one of those, I don't want to say news guys. I don't know how you would describe Bill Maher, comedian, whatever the talking head program that he has. Bill Maher is the perfect example of one of those guys that every once in a while says things that you think are logical, and you're like, oh, wow, all right, maybe he's not a conservative. Okay, so stop. Just because every once in a while somebody says something you like, don't get so excited, okay? Don't fall in love with the first person who says something that you think, all right, this is positive. This seems like something that would be a good thing to do.
This is what you do.
I mean, it's not what you do. But there's Bernie. I mean, Bernie's a perfect example. By the way, there's some Bernie news out there. Something that he said that I might need to play multiple times Bernie Sanders telling the truth about what's happening with Democrats and Kamala Harris. Wait till you hear that coming up in just a bit. All right. But, the Bill Maher and the idea that Taylor Swift is there at the Kansas City Chiefs game a couple of days back and the season starts and there's the all right. Yeah, I know. Okay. Season starts. She's in one box watching the game, and Brittany Mahomes, who's the Kansas City Chiefs quarterback, Mahomes is in a different one, and I guess apparently the rift, I guess if you will, they're claiming that there's nothing to see here, move along, but the talk was that Brittany Mahomes liked a couple of things that Trump said, and all the Swifties out there have to be for Kamala Harris because Trump derangement syndrome, how that works. And I don't know if that's exactly what was going down, but that was what Bill Maher was talking about. And it was the buzz out there. And I guess if anything, when you hear that, your first reaction has to be, man, you got to be kidding me. I mean, are we really in this place? Like that even if you're just following a sports game that you've been looking forward to, an NFL season that finally is upon us that you're excited about, that even in sports, even the smallest things, even the people that are all over your TV, and I mean, are they really too having their own internal issues because somebody liked something that Trump tweeted? I mean, are we really doing? And the answer is yes. Where have you been living? Of course, that's what's going on now. How does it change? Will it ever change? It's going to take a lot for the pendulum to swing the opposite way, where we are going to live in a country where people are not going to do the things that they're doing right now. And there are people that would have you believe that it's all about getting rid of Trump. Like once Trump's politically off stage and that's it, he's done. Once Trump is done, everything's going to be so much better. You sure about that? I mean, we're talking about the left in this country who wants to destroy the constitutional republic that we are. I mean, come on now. The answer is no, it's not going to change. But we have to be aware of what is happening. All right, 866-588-8303.
You're listening to Florida's Voice with Drew Steele.
What I know about courage, I learned from my adoptive mom. She said sometimes you just gotta hold on and know we'll get through this. Mom, we are so high up. Hold my hand.
No, you hold my hand.
Here we go.
Learn about adopting a teen from foster care. You can't imagine the reward. Visit adoptuskids.org to find out more.
I learned patience from my adoptive dad. All he had to say was,
"Hey, you got this. Just breathe." Hey, we're pretty good.
Yeah.
Might have to start a band.
I got it.
Learn about adopting a teen from foster care. You can't imagine the reward. Visit adoptuskids.org to find out more. This message is brought to you by Adopt US Kids, the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, and the Ad Council.
All right, coming up in just a few more minutes, Mike Haridopolos is going to join us. Looking forward to a great conversation, running for Congress. And then some of your calls as well, 866-588-8303. This is Florida's Voice.
You're listening to Florida's Voice with Drew Steele. Florida's Voice with Drew Steele.
Congratulations on your show.
Congratulations on your new show. Big deal, huh?
That's why shows like yours are so important. We have an independent county elected sheriff that's the head of law enforcement in Jacksonville/Duval County. And I know how to work toward making this city safe.
We can't be shy about speaking on things such as faith and politics. We have to remember, in a free society, the public square belongs to all of us.
I'm not interested in North Florida looking like Orlando or Miami. I love where we live, but I think that good jobs means that people that live in this district can stay in this district.
Fishing and hunting is funding a large part of your conservation projects in Florida, and we want to make sure that those are forever preserved.
And the problem with this industry at this point is that they actually target our youth. You can see it in their marketing strategies, where it's bright colors, fun names.
And that's going to be endlessly litigated.
Florida's Voice with Drew Steele.
Hey, it's Drew Steele with an offer that can help steer your retirement in the right direction. Look, we're going to navigate the turbulent waters of 24 with this financial uncertainties and shifting tides. Having expert guidance is more crucial than ever, and that's where my good friend Alfie Townsend comes in. As Southwest Florida's certified financial planner professional, Alfie brings expert knowledge and insight. His latest book, Making Waves in Retirement, isn't just a guide. It's your navigational compass for mastering the financial seas. With decades of experience, Alfie has crafted a powerful roadmap to help you chart your course and make impactful waves in your retirement. Look, for a limited time, you can claim your free copy of this valuable guide. That's right, no cost. This book is more than just pages. It's your blueprint for a prosperous and fulfilling retirement. Don't let this opportunity drift by. Text book to 239-747-1080. That's book to 239-747-1080. Look, secure your free copy today. Let's make 24 the year you confidently navigate towards a brighter financial future. Text book to 239-747-1080.
Uh-oh, Brad's buzzed.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, he's starting with the woots. And now a speech.
I just want to say that friendship is about heart and brain. Who's with me?
Good thing is, he knows when he's buzzed.
And my brain is saying, when it's time to go home, somebody call me a ride.
Love that guy.
Me too.
Know your buzzed warning signs? Call for a ride when it's time to go home. Buzz driving is drunk driving. A message from NHTSA and the Ad Council.
In Iraq, our truck hit a roadside bomb. I had about 16 surgeries on my hand so that I could regain function. And when I came home, I needed a new roof due to a storm. And I was about to lose homeowners insurance as well. I applied for Operation Homefront Critical Financial Assistance Program. And it's good to know that when we come home, there are people who are there that care about us. Operation Homefront, they've really been a blessing.
Visit OperationHomefront.org to learn more.
We're with Bridget, whose husband won't be home for months, and whose daughter is due any day. We're with Mike, who's leaving home to protect his family and yours. We're with all service members and their families who need community, connection, and maybe a bit of magic. Are you with them? Learn more at uso.org today. We're with Liam after his 4th military move, when being new is starting to get old. We're with Tara during the holidays, when she misses home the most. We're with all service members and their families who need connection, comfort, and a home away from home. Are you with them? Learn more at uso.org today.
You can't escape a traffic jam. Know what else you can't escape? Seasonal allergies.
No!
And you might think you can avoid that coffee stain until... Oh, really? You can't escape a lot of things in life, but you can escape prediabetes. Prediabetes captures 1 in 3 adults. There are usually no signs of prediabetes. In fact, most people don't even know they have it. But with early diagnosis, you can change the outcome and prevent or delay type 2 diabetes. Take action by taking the 1-minute risk test at doihaveprediabetes.org. You might not be able to escape having this song stuck in your head, but you can escape prediabetes. Go to doihaveprediabetes.org today. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention.
What I know about courage, I learned from my adoptive mom. She said sometimes you just gotta hold on and know we'll get through this. Mom, we are so high up. Hold my hand.
No, you hold my hand.
Here we go.
Learn about adopting a teen from foster care. You can't imagine the reward. Visit adoptuskids.org to find out more.
I learned patience from my adoptive dad. All he had to say was,
Hey, you got this. Just breathe. Hey, we're pretty good.
Yeah.
Might have to start a band.
I got it.
Learn about adopting a teen from foster care. You can't imagine the reward. Visit adoptuskids.org to find out more. This message is brought to you by Adopt US Kids, the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, and the Ad Council.
Thank you for waking us all up out here, for all you do.
Thank you for giving us a voice.
For being out there helping keep the constitutional republic. I want to thank you for your support for veterans in the military. Educating us. Standing up for conservatism. Giving us the truth.
Florida's Voice with Drew Steele.
Hey, it's great to see you here. Coming up, Mike Haridopolos is running for Congress, and we're going to have a conversation about some of the things that are bothering him, some of the things he's worried about, and why he wants to get out there and fix what's broken. Boy, there's a lot to fix. So we'll get to that coming up in just about. Okay, what?
Drew Steele. Fact check.
There's a fact check. All right. I'm being fact checked. Now, here's one thing that you'll realize about Drew Steele, Florida's Voice, me personally. If I say something and somebody wants to fact check me, I'm okay with that. I'm happy with you being the ombudsman people. Ombudsman. Okay, I'm not good with words or jokes or anything else. But anyway, the point is that yes, it's okay when I get fact checked, and I've been fact checked. So I'm being told that before we went to break, I was bringing up the Bill Maher comments from last week about Taylor Swift and Brittany Mahomes and there being this little rift. And then I'm told just a little while ago that they were at the U.S. Open over the weekend, hanging out. Everything was great. Okay. So earlier in the week, there may or may not have been a rift, but there is no rift. They seem to be just fine. First of all, any opportunity to play that, I'm really happy to do it because it's a lot of fun. The original, some of the NFL themes, as opposed to some of the anthems that we can't decide how many we have now in this country. But anyway, first of all, all I'm saying is ultimately is that Bill Maher was bringing this up during the beginning of the week. Chances are there are going to be moments where celebrities are going to be upset with others that retweet things that Trump says because Trump derangement syndrome and it's alive and well. And there are going to be moments where maybe or maybe not people will argue, debate, not want to hang out for the moment, be a little disgusted. It's just the nature of where we are. And then the second part is, I just don't care that much. Whatever. Okay, Taylor Swift and Brittany Mahomes are fine. Okay, we're moving on. So that's it. All right, so that's my fact check. So they hung out at the U.S. Open over the weekend. Okay. As we move on right now, you know, a couple of things that you can't escape right now in politics. Number one, that there are people who are convinced they know exactly what is going on when it comes to monetary policy, when it comes to how the economy works, when they are being dubbed as the experts that can explain a lot to you about how the economy works, about different things politically. And you listen to some of these experts and be careful who you consider to be the experts, because sometimes the quote unquote experts aren't even close to being that. See just about every expert during COVID. I digress a little bit, but you see where I'm going. All the people that told you, you know, you got to wear the masks, but of course, if masks work, why don't they work? And we can go on with some of the Birx and Fauci and the experts who told us there were things that we had to do and we couldn't have a life anymore unless we had a vaccine. I can go on and on. Okay, but anyway, what about economic experts? What about people who supposedly you should be able to lean on because they understand exactly how the economy works? And as a matter of fact, let's put them on CNBC and let's have them talk about this. So there's a Democrat strategist named Elizabeth Panicatti, and I kind of looked her up a little bit, and I'm still not sure what exactly her expertise is, except that she's a Democrat strategist. And she's on with Joe Kernan. Joe Kernan on CNBC is kind of one of those, I don't know if you want to say right-leaning guys, conservative guys, but let's just say trying to make sense of what is the senseless out there with regard to economic policy, things that are happening, the truth, not your truth, but the truth. And so they're having this conversation about tax policies and the difference between Trump's tax policies and Kamala Harris's proposed tax policies. And as they're having a panel discussion on Squawk Box, this little nugget came up. Let me play the audio, and then I'll explain why this is so frustrating. You're going to pick it up as soon as I play it, but check out this conversation between CNBC's Joe Kernan and the Democrat strategist Elizabeth Panicatti on tax policies.
I don't know. I read the notes, Elizabeth. You're just going to tell me raising or cutting taxes on the wealthy, as if corporations are a code word for the wealthy. I just don't understand that, because
I don't think that's true at all.
Okay, aren't you saying that's all he wants to do is cut taxes for the wealthy? Why is cutting taxes on corporations for the wealthy? Why is that for the wealthy?
I think there's both. I think, one, we know that capital income represents, for the top households, represents a huge amount of their income relative to wage income at the bottom. And so when those corporations do better, or when they're given tax breaks, that flows to the top households. But I don't think that...
So that's a bad thing? Seriously, Elizabeth, that's a bad thing. Who do you think provides the jobs in this country?
Let me just stop right there. So, you know, when these corporations benefit from these tax policies, everything moves up. And Joe Kernan is like, well, hold on a second. Are you sure about that? Because here's one of the discussions that is tough for some people to have. Who's providing the jobs? Who do you think provides the jobs that pays the taxes? The private sector does this. Like, this should be 101. This is the kind of things that people get frustrated about with education, and how kids are not learning this. Like the 101s, like how we work. Instead of the demagoguing and these rhetorical statements that are being made, and the Democrat strategists who throw all of this out, and the evil rich. You know, it's what Bernie Sanders does.
This is what you do.
Yeah, we know you do. So let it go on. Okay, so he's like, where do you think these jobs come from? Who do you think's providing the jobs?
And the people that work at those companies that pay the taxes to afford everything we do. The government can't provide jobs. Who's going to pay the government workers? The government doesn't have...
The government is, in fact, the largest employer in the United States.
Yeah, exactly. And where do you get the money to pay? Where do you get the money to pay those employees?
I think that there's this, false reality that trickle-down economics has worked for the past 50 years. And in fact,
just answer me. Where do you get the money to pay the government employees? Just answer that. That's all I want you to answer.
I just want to stop there for a second. Where are you getting the money to pay for all these government? The biggest employer right now is the federal government. Well, what do they make? What do they do? Where are they getting the money to pay these employees? Where is it coming from? How do you not know this? She's trying to argue like economic policy for the past 50 years has been a big mistake, and it's been a big problem, and we have to rethink and reimagine the economy, just like you want to rethink and reimagine policing. Is that what you want to do, Democrat strategist Elizabeth Panicatti? You bet it is. But when you hear that, it's like, well, hold on. Who do you think is paying for the government? Where do you think the money's coming from? I mean, she knows where the money's coming from. I mean, she's not. Well, let it go on for a second here.
Revenue from both household and corporations.
It all flows down from the private sector. I'm sorry to tell you.
So it all flows down from the private sector. Sorry to tell you. And you come on as an expert to talk about these issues, and you would imagine that logically she would know. And of course she does. Of course she knows But this is where we are in the country. And if we're going to be honest, in the 30,000-foot view through all of this, is that there are people who now have been taught that this is really a discussion, like rethinking how the economy should work and looking at the federal government as, hey, well, there's a lot of them. We got more employees in the federal government than anywhere else. And, we're making all kinds of stuff. Yeah, what do you do making all kinds of stuff? Where do you think the money's coming from to pay for the federal employees? It's remarkable that she could go on to CNBC and talk about this as if there's nothing to see here. I don't know. It's broken. A lot of things are broken. And we need people in Washington, D.C. who understand things are broken and they need to be fixed. And Mike Haridopolos is somebody who's running for Congress. He's a Republican nominee for Florida's District 8. And I want to tell you this right now. He is somebody who I have heard about many, many times in my years doing radio, and have always been told somebody who is a real, true conservative and somebody who gets it. So I'm so happy that he's joining us this morning on Florida's Voice with Drew Steele. How are you, sir? It's great to see you. How are you this morning?
I'm doing well, Drew. Good morning to you, and I'm excited about the new opportunity you have here with Florida Voice News. Exciting times.
It is exciting times, and it's important times, as you well know. First of all, I know, and I mean this sincerely. I've talked to many, many people over the many years that I've been doing radio here in the state of Florida, and people have always brought up your name and talked about how you are a strong conservative. You fight, and you're somebody who definitely understands not only the things that we have seen here in your time, obviously in the Florida Senate, right? But also what needs to happen nationally. And I don't know if you had a chance to hear a little bit of that audio from the Democrat strategist at all, who was trying to explain how, we have to look at what's going on with the economy, and some things need to change because, we have a federal government and it's one of the biggest employers. And Joe Kernan at CNBC is like, do you understand where the money's coming from to pay these people? It's remarkable that she goes on to the network and talks about this. And it's scary because there are a lot of other people who think the same way. Like, they just don't get it. How could you fix something that's broken or what people believe if they don't even understand fundamentally these issues, right?
Unfortunately, you're right on, Drew. I think that they think government is religion, and it's their belief that somehow the government is the all-knowing and can solve everyone's problems. The truth of the matter is, if you look at probably the biggest driver beyond the border issue we talk about every day that affects Americans is the high inflation rate. They're actually going out there right now bragging that the inflation rate's only 3.5%. But what about the 25% increase we've seen in prices over the last 4 years? They're not going to be rolled back magically under this new government plan, or the latest government plan, I should say. And because the people are hurting, rent costs more, gasoline costs more, the interest rates are higher. Everyday activities by Americans are up 25%. And unless you got a 25% bump in pay, you're losing ground. And to say the solution is more the same is idiotic, to put it kindly. I can say other words, but what we need to do is go back to fundamentals. The government should do some things that it does well, meaning roads, the military, the basics, and get the heck out of the way so that the free market can strive once again. We've never seen a successful communistic nation, let alone socialistic nation. Why would we want to move in that direction? And so I think this is why a lot of people can be looking at a fundamental change in the fall. I'm optimistic that President Trump can do a good job tomorrow night explaining that it's you, meaning the people, that are going to drive this economy. It's not going to be a bureaucrat who's never signed the front of a check in their entire life.
Right. I've talked about this before, and you've probably had this conversation as well, that I feel bad that it takes a situation that we're in right now in this country for people to wake up. Like, you never want that to happen. All the times that we talked about if you spend out of control, spending is going to lead to inflation, and people were like, whatever, and they would blow us off, right? They would just brush it off like it was never a big deal. And the reason why we kept bringing this up, and I know you can speak to this directly, is because we never wanted to get to this place. You don't want to get to the point where people look and you turn around and it's this bad. And it's not an I told you so. It's a we never wanted it to get here, and we know what we're talking about. And you have people who just are being told these lies. They don't know how the economy works. They don't understand even inflation. And too, like when people talk about inflation and inflation is coming down. Yeah, but it's cumulative. It doesn't mean that the prices are going down. It means that they're going up less. They don't understand even those fundamentals, and it's important that people realize that.
No, Drew, you're spot on. And I think there's a lack of understanding what inflation is and why it happened. I think you're hitting the nail perfectly. And I think it's just so incredibly frustrating that these people just really don't get it. Their perception is what happens in Washington, D.C. I'd like to think most Republicans' perception is that less should happen in Washington, D.C. and more should be happening in your downtown local area. So I think this is where I hate to come to this, but this should be a no-brainer election. We have trouble overseas in a big way, whether it be what happened most recently in Israel, what has already happened in Afghanistan, of course, the chaos in Ukraine, and the threat of China, of course, Indonesia, let alone the border crisis. That should be enough to bring a Republican victory. But to our issue today, the economy, people are struggling every day. Credit card debt has never been higher, let alone the U.S. government debt and deficit has never been higher. And these people think that the economy is the greatest economy in the world. They live in literally this Washington, D.C. vacuum. And I'm optimistic that we can keep the House, pick up that last seat probably in Montana or Ohio, wherever it might be, win the Senate. And with Donald Trump back in the helm, day one, we start reversing some of these policies that have put us in this bad situation in the first place. It's one thing if things happen to you that you react. The reason why we have, I think, these big problems, as you nailed, Drew, is that they overspent and made money worth less. And thus inflation took place. And then we spent it in places where we shouldn't be spending so much, like the Ukraine. And it takes away the resources that everyday Americans have, because when interest rates get from 7 to 7%, when they were at 3%, that means that an average house where I live here on the beach side that costs $400,000, people are paying $1,000 more in interest payments for the exact same house. That's just patently unfair. Yeah. And that's not because something they did, it's something the government did to them.
Right. And again, these are things that are tangible. People are living through this every day. We all know it. We've all seen what has happened, what's transpired, and it's not like it can't be reversed. The left in this country, Democrats in particular, and this too, they go by this, it's the new norm. They try to sell us on this is just the way it's going to be. No, it doesn't have to be this way. We all know that because of the time that Trump was in office and how different things were. I know so long ago, 4 years ago, I lived through that, and so did you, and so did everybody else. So we all know exactly what that looks like. And the accounting of people to say that these are the individuals that are doing these things incorrectly, that they don't understand, and what is their motivation? Why are they doing this? And maybe even your time in the Senate and what you realize there in trying to bring people together with a focus on issues, let's just say even in the state of Florida. Like I'm sure that's something that you want to take to Congress is to be able to look at these issues and find ultimately some kind of common ground, which should be easier now considering that things for people are tangible. Like these are the things that are broken. These are the things that need to be fixed. And how do you do that, when you're going to a place that is so awash with individuals who sometimes don't want to hear it?
Well, look, first of all, let's not pretend this is an easy job to turn around Congress. It's going to be an absolute challenge. I mean, the good news is, I think why the voters affirmed me so well in the primary with a 52-point win was that I've done this before. This isn't new to me. When I took office as the Senate president, Rick Scott and I were both new in our job, and we recognized we had a unemployment rate. We had a budget shortfall. We had some real issues going on in our state. And so we took a step back and say, let's offer one thing to Floridians and the rest of the country, and that's stability and certainty. That means that they know if they come to Florida that their taxes aren't going to go up, regulations aren't going to be increased, and it's going to be a much more difficult place to sue somebody, so that, which also slows down business. So we offer just stability, and I think that's lacking dramatically right now, because I talk to so many business leaders today, and they're saying, I don't know what the government's going to throw at me next, so I'm not going to put more capital into my business. I'm afraid to do it because they might come in and make some changes. And so that was the first thing that Rick Scott and I did back when we had that very difficult time 12 years ago. We offered stability, and by balancing budgets, meaning making tough budget decisions, by moving forward and saying we're going to change our pension systems in the state so that, again, there's more stability for employers and employees. People said, wow, these guys actually balanced budget. They didn't raise my taxes. They didn't add a regulatory burden. And guess what happened? People said, Florida's the place to be. And they got the heck out of California, Illinois, New York, Pennsylvania, Connecticut, New Jersey, because they said, Florida's the land of stability. And what's happened is that people are growing more and more jobs here. That's the exact same thing we need to offer in Washington. Tell businesses, we're going to offer you a stable platform, get the heck out of your way, and let you make the business decisions, as opposed to reacting to some of these folks who are in the bureaucracy who don't understand how a business really works. I mean, it's idiotic to say we're going to add $25,000 for new home buyers. That's just going to inflate the price of a house. I mean, how you can't see that right off the bat is amazing to me. Right. And then they want to get into a bidding war on just copying Donald Trump on his different policies, whether it be for child tax credit or no tax on tips or no tax on Social Security. So these people are very vacuous, in my opinion. They just want to win politically. They don't look at the bigger picture. And more importantly, they don't understand what everyday Floridians, in my case, or Americans across the country are going through. And when they've already accepted, unfortunately, a 25% increase in the overall price of goods, from gasoline to McDonald's for that matter, and it's not coming back anytime soon unless we make the fundamental change. And I'll add one more thing if I could. Best thing we could do to turn around this economy, besides offering stability, which we did in my time, how do you lower the price of gasoline? That's the number one thing we can do right now, which is you reduce the cost of energy, whether it be not just your car, but on everyday items, because it'll be cheaper in the grocery store and restaurants, let alone your monthly air conditioning bill. That is the way that you can really reduce. And it also empowers America, as opposed to being on the women call of looking out at places like Venezuela, Saudi Arabia, let alone the Middle East in general.
Yeah. And today's word, by the way, everybody, is vacuous. I'm going to figure out a way to use that word because I like that. So we're going to use that again today.
But college professors coming out, I apologize. I need to,
no, that's good. I like that. I like that. Every day I have some kind of word that I'm going to use, like a word of the day that somebody mentions. And I thought that was it's fitting in a lot of different ways with what's going on. All right, Mike Haridopolos joining us on Florida's Voice. Listen, I appreciate you being with us. I can't wait to have you back on again. There's so many things that I would love to bring you back to talk about. So all the best, sir. God bless, and we'll see you soon, okay?
Thanks again for the time, Drew. Have a great week. See you soon.
All right, you do the same. That's Mike Haridopolos, who's joining us on Florida's Voice. Appreciate him so much. Good conservative. Love it. All right, on the way. Hey, listen, I got to play some of this audio. Ron DeSantis said a few things, and I think you need to hear what he's talking about. Was he calling people out on the amendment issues here in the state?
You're listening to Florida's Voice with Drew Steele.
I'm Chris Jakimick. I served in the United States Air Force, and I deployed 3 times. Being a veteran, it's interwoven into your DNA. It is really the absence of the connection and the purpose that can really drive a lot of veterans to some negative thoughts. For those who are in a suicidal crisis, the window of time to save somebody's life is very short. Our duty is to protect ourselves and protect our families. And one way you can do that is store your weapons safely. Store all your guns securely. Help stop suicide.
Brought to you by End Family Fire and the Ad Council.
We're with Bridget, whose husband won't be home for months, and whose daughter is due any day. We're with Mike, who's leaving home to protect his family and yours. We're with all service members and their families who need community, connection, and maybe a bit of magic. Are you with them? Learn more at uso.org today. We're with Liam after his 4th military move, when being new is starting to get old. We're with Tara during the holidays, when she misses home the most. We're with all service members and their families who need connection, comfort, and a home away from home. Are you with them? Learn more at uso.org today.
What I know about courage, I learned from my adoptive mom. She said sometimes you just gotta hold on and know we'll get through this. Mom, we are so high up. Hold my hand.
No, you hold my hand.
Here we go.
Learn about adopting a teen from foster care. You can't imagine the reward. Visit adoptuskids.org to find out more.
I learned patience from my adoptive dad. All he had to say was,
"Hey, you got this. Just breathe." Hey, we're pretty good.
Yeah.
Might have to start a band.
I got it.
Learn about adopting a teen from foster care. You can't imagine the reward. Visit adoptuskids.org to find out more. This message is brought to you by Adopt US Kids, the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, and the Ad Council.
You can't escape a traffic jam. Know what else you can't escape? Seasonal allergies. And you might think you can avoid that coffee stain until... Oh, really? You can't escape a lot of things in life, but you can escape prediabetes. Prediabetes captures 1 in 3 adults. There are usually no signs of prediabetes. In fact, most people don't even know they have it. But with early diagnosis, you can change the outcome and prevent or delay type 2 diabetes. Take action by taking the 1-minute risk test at doihaveprediabetes.org. You might not be able to escape having this song stuck in your head, but you can escape prediabetes. Go to doihaveprediabetes.org today. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention.
Hi, I'm Ryan Blaney, a 3rd-generation race car driver, and we dedicate a lot of our time to going as fast as possible. My grandpa Lou is the reason why my dad and I started racing, and I'm really proud to follow in his tracks. But when my grandpa was diagnosed with Alzheimer's, it was a very unexpected bump in the road for us. I've learned a lot on this journey with my grandpa Lou, and the memories of my grandpa will always be with me. And in our family, we're used to getting involved, and I encourage you to do the same, especially when it comes to caring for your loved ones. When I think about Alzheimer's and the impact it had on my family, I recognize that losing a race isn't such a bad day after all. It's important to notice if older family members are acting differently, experiencing problems with their memory, or having trouble with routine tasks. Talking about Alzheimer's can be really tough, but if you notice something, have a conversation with your loved one. Encourage them to see a doctor or offer to go with them. Early detection of Alzheimer's can give your family time to explore support services, make a plan for the future, and access available treatments. If you or your family are noticing changes, it could be Alzheimer's. Talk about seeing a doctor together.
To some, the sound of a baby babbling doesn't mean much, but that's not true. They're testing out vowels and consonants and trying different sounds. And by 12 months, their babbling is beginning to take on meaning, especially if there's no babbling at all. Little to no babbling by 12 months or later is just one of the possible signs of autism in children. Learn more at autismspeaks.org.
Hey, it's Drew Steele with a game-changing offer for those ready to master their retirement journey. Look, we're going to navigate unpredictable waters in 24, an election year marked by financial uncertainty. It's crucial. You've got to have expert guidance. That's where my good friend Alfie Townsend comes in. The Southwest Florida Certified Financial Planner Professional, Alfie brings unparalleled experience and insight to the table. His latest book, Making Waves in Retirement, it's not just a guide. It's your strategic compass for navigating the financial seas with confidence. Look, with decades of experience, Alfie has created a powerful roadmap It'll help you chart your course and make meaningful waves in your retirement. And for a limited time, you can get your hands on this book free. That's right, no cost. The book is more than just a collection of stories. It's a blueprint for achieving a prosperous and fulfilling retirement. So don't miss out. Text book to 239-747-1080 right now. It's book to 239-747-1080 and claim your free copy today. Let's make 24 the year you confidently steer towards a brighter financial future. Text book to 239-747-1080.
Now, back to Florida's Voice with Drew Steele.
So, Governor DeSantis was at an event recently and had a few things to say about some Republicans who have been doing really good things, who really do care about the amendment process and some of the things that we're doing here in the state, and called out some that aren't speaking out enough. And I wonder what you think about what you're about to hear. That's coming up in just a second. And you can call anytime you would like, 866-588-8303. We are live, so certainly your thoughts, your opinions, 866-588-8303. And it's pretty powerful stuff, so we'll have that coming up in just a second. But first, let's find out what's going on across the state. It's the top of the news.
Top of the news, Florida's headlines. Now.
And Eric Doherty is in the newsroom right now, and he's going to give us the latest. What's up, Eric?
Good morning, Drew. Here are some of the top stories we're following here in the newsroom at Florida's Voice. Senator Rick Scott is scathing the Biden-Harris administration for failing to protect national security and keeping communities safe from violent gangs. The lawmaker was reacting to reports of alleged members of Venezuelan gangs taking over an apartment building in Aurora, Colorado. Scott's campaign says that the current administration has created the worst border crisis in history. Scott, who is up for re-election, says he will keep fighting to keep American families safe and protect the border. The University of Florida has dropped from its position as the top-ranked public university in the country. This is according to the Wall Street Journal. They show UF holding the 34th spot now among public universities and 83rd overall. Last year, the Wall Street Journal ranked it first among public universities and 15th overall.
Wow.
Determining factors were student outcomes, learning environments, and, quote, diversity. The rating comes just days after Forbes named UF fourth among top public institutions in the country for return on investment. The first debate between former President Trump and presidential hopeful Kamala Harris is tomorrow. ABC will air the showdown after much back and forth between both sides over what the particulars should be on how it will go down. The rules are that microphones will be muted when one candidate isn't speaking, which was a sticking point in those negotiations leading up to the agreement. ABC anchors David Muir and Lindsay Davis will be the moderators, and the debate is set to take place at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. Heading into that debate, at least in Florida, the former president is leading Harris by 5 points, according to the Florida's Voice polling average. Aggregate polling is like taking all of the polls, and there are a lot of them, and you sort them to blend them all together to get an idea of where things stand for the candidates.
Yeah.
Now that 5-point lead is a big deal too, especially here in Florida, which is considered a crucial state for him to win if he wants to win 270 electoral votes. Senator Scott is in a much tighter race than former President Donald Trump with a 1-point lead over his Democratic opponent, Debbie Mucarsel-Powell, at least according to the latest poll. And those are just some of the stories we are following for you this morning here at Florida's Voice. I'm Eric Doherty, Assistant News Director for Florida's Voice. Have a great morning.
Okay, you do the same. I know his mic got cut off there for a second, but all right. Appreciate you, Eric. Thanks for joining us this morning. Again, 866-588-8303. We are live anytime you want to call. We would love to hear from you. Coming up, we're going to talk about what DeSantis said about the amendment process here in the state and some things that I think are very important that maybe some of you don't realize. It's possible you don't. But he brought up some of the poll numbers, and I just wanted to quickly mention that, I don't know. Well, when you see the Nate Silver 538 forecast, and when you see the numbers continue to climb for Trump, 63.8% to Harris's 36 right now. It's a new high in the Electoral College probability. I don't know what else, short of a spectacular, amazing. I don't know. Do I need I need like some kind of. Yeah. Okay. I don't know. I couldn't think of anything else. A moment for Kamala Harris in the debate stage tomorrow night. Short of that, something miraculous happening. Where does she gain? Where is she going to gain on Trump? As far as the swing states and the chances of winning, how every single state now is in Trump's favor, big numbers, at least 8 to 10% in most states, even the tighter ones like Michigan and Wisconsin. You have the overall numbers that we talked about a little earlier in the New York Times Siena crosstabs, and how the did not vote in 2020 numbers, Trump 49 to 40%, shows you how important turnout's going to be. Not just the turnout on Republican side with men at 56 to 39% for Trump, the Trump voters in 2020 that are 97 to 2% for Trump. Who are the 2% of Republicans? I guess it must be Dick Cheney, Mitt Romney, and Paul Ryan and some of their buddies, like the 2%. But how important turnout's going to be to make sure that it's solid at the end of the day. And look, at the end of the day, what will that debate be like? Boy, I can't wait till Wednesday and have some of those clips. All right, let's get to this right now. Governor Ron DeSantis had a few things to say about Republicans, called out some, particularly the people who are standing up for life, those that are standing against Amendment 4, and even some of those that are standing against Amendment 3. And look, the marijuana issues specifically we'll get to in just a second, but I want to play a little bit of what he said about this. And look, this is important to hear from the governor.
Congressman Aaron Bain, Congresswoman Kat Cammack, Congressman Mario Diaz-Balart, Congressman Neil Dunn, Congressman Matt Gaetz, Congressman Carlos Jimenez, Congressman Corey Mills, Congressman John Rutherford, Congressman Michael Waltz, and Congressman Daniel Webster. I want to thank you guys for not just standing for principle, but also being willing to contribute and doing it. We also have other U.S. congressmen that have publicly taken a position against the amendment. They haven't committed to help us financially, but I think they probably will, but I want to recognize them anyways. Congressman Bilirakis, Buchanan, Donalds, Franklin, Salazar, and Stubbe. So thank you for opposing this, and we want to, marshal some support for you. The others that I have not named have not taken a position against Amendment 4, and to me that's untenable to just sit here and let George Soros run amendments in our state and not be willing to stand up and say no, not on our watch. That's the least you can do as Republicans. So
there's something to be said about that, right? So there's the governor who is calling out people by name and people that he knows that have been against Amendment 4. I mean, how can you not be when you realize what Amendment 4 is and is not? And, whether it's Amendment 4 in abortion, and regardless of how you feel about it, one way or the other, whether it's Amendment 3 and how you feel about the recreational use of marijuana, one way or the other, put the substance marijuana aside, put the issue abortion aside for just a second. You've got to focus on the language. You've got to focus on what is in these amendments. And again, it's not just the fact that so many times in the amendment process, we've done this before. We know what it's like. And if we're going to be honest between the two of us, and we are honest, that what ends up happening is you have people in the state who legislatively do not get what they want. And when they don't get what they want, they run as fast as they can to the amendment process to get it done there. And you ask why? Like, why is it that it seems like everything has to be decided? Not when it's trying to protect something that is a fundamental, you feel a fundamental right. And, if you want to debate whether or not an abortion or marijuana use is a fundamental right. But the fact is that there are certain things in the amendment process where you are trying to protect, clearly protect rights, or understand what's coming down the road, because there are people that will be willing to take it away from you and you have to buffer that and protect yourself and the state. There's another side of it where it's something completely different. And we can have those debates and questions being asked. And the governor was talking about that specifically in this next clip. And this is important.
I think that these are both two important issues. I think it will impact the fabric of the state. Don't get me wrong. But this is a playbook that, if this succeeds, is going to impact this state in successive elections. If we have a state where one entrenched interest can spend $100 million and amend the Constitution to benefit themselves and their pockets, you're going to see more and more people do that. If Soros can come in and run these amendments and have success, you are going to see more left-wing groups decide to do that.
Think about that. If you start to upend what is the legislative process in this state by people who have an interest and are willing to come from the outside in to spend lots of money for their interests, again, upending what is the will of the people who have taken their sacred vote and voted for individuals to be in the legislature, to send them to Tallahassee, to be able to vote in their best interest. And there are people who don't like what is happening. And again, remember what's going on here in the state. Remember where we stand. Remember, we're talking about the free state of Florida. We're talking about Republican governance, good conservative, you would hope, governance. And when you have people who want to upend that and haven't been able to do it with their elected officials because they're trying to elect people that are going against what is the will of the people, and it's not working out for them, then what do? They bring outside sources in. And if they're going to be able to constantly bring outside sources in and money in to take away what is your will, the will of the people, and not just that, but use language that is so twisted and distorted where you just get the headline, or you're just going to get the graphic, you're just going to get the, how could you possibly be against fill in the blank, when you're not reading the fine print. And there are enough people that'll just see that and not read the fine print. Then how do we function?
So you end up, after 3 or 4 election cycles, you end up being California through the back door. Does anybody think that's good for the state of Florida? I don't think so. So we're in a position where we have 2 very deceptively worded, misleading amendments.
Yep.
Neither of them should have been allowed to be on the ballot by the Florida Supreme Court, but here we are. And so it's a responsibility for people affiliated with the Republican Party of Florida to stand up and say, no, we are doing fine as a state. We do not need to change the fabric of the state with having everybody, using marijuana in public like they do in Denver and all these other places. And we certainly don't need a Soros-backed Amendment 4 to pass. So this is important. It's important that all of our political leaders, stand up and be counted.
Yeah. They should be counted. Let's hear from each individual. Let's see why they believe what they believe. And let's understand what it is that comes up next. In other words, coming up next, like if certain individuals want to come here and circumvent the will of the people because they have a lot of money and a lot of influence, and they can deceptively put things out there to make people believe something is what it's not. Like, even if you're talking about Amendment 4, and again, can't say this enough, if you're somebody who is pro-abortion, you believe in killing babies. Oh, did I say that? Oh, that's harsh. How could you say that? I don't know. Maybe because that's what it is. If you're somebody who believes in that, well, I don't believe it, and you want to nuance the issue. Well, does the amendment nuance the issue? Or is it specific? Do we know exactly what's going on in the amendment and when viability is? Or is it like, I don't know, maybe, it's like, that's a good enough number. Let's pick that number right there. That's the number that everybody chooses. Really? That's what you're doing? Doctors, healthcare professionals. What is a healthcare professional? What is described as, is it specific in the language? Or is it really vague? Don't you care about that? Of course you care about that. And people need to be questioned as to why they would support something that's so vague. Why are we not being specific? What are you trying to get past us? Why is it that we can't have the process? Elected officials in Tallahassee and legislatively do this. Ask yourself that.
You're listening to Florida's Voice with Drew Steele.
Babes, what are you doing?
What? I'm just mowing the lawn.
No, it's blazing hot and dry out here. Don't you remember? Smokey Bear says.
Avoid using power equipment when it's windy or dry.
Where'd you learn this?
Oh, it's on
SmokeyBear.com with many other wildfire prevention tips.
Right. Thanks, Honey Bear.
Because remember, only you can prevent wildfires.
Brought to you by the USDA Forest Service, your state forester, and the Ad Council.
All right, son. Time to put out this campfire.
Dad, we learned about this in school.
Oh, did you now? Okay. What's first?
Smokey Bear said to.
First drown it with a bucket of water, then stir it with a shovel.
Wow, you sound just like him.
Then he said.
If it's still warm, then do it again.
Where can I learn all this?
It's all on SmokeyBear.com with other wildfire prevention tips, because only you can prevent wildfires.
Brought to you by the USDA Forest Service, your state forester, and the Ad Council.
Are you prepared for an emergency or disaster? Because it's not a matter of if, but when. Don't find yourself saying,
I'll trust water bottles and a flashlight to save the day, but I'll be proved wrong.
With a tornado approaching, I'll realize that I lack a wheelchair-accessible shelter.
When the floodwaters rise, I'll be up in the attic with 20 cans of beans. It's a recipe for disaster.
let's prepare so we all have a better story to tell. Get started at ready.gov/older-adults. Brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council. Are you prepared for an emergency or disaster? Because it's not a matter of if, but when. Don't find yourself saying,
when the storm rolls in, my time to find a pet-friendly evacuation center will have run out.
The scorching heat wave will leave me powerless to cool my insulin.
I'll face a hurricane without meds. Now that's a tough pill to swallow.
Let's prepare so we all have a better story to tell. Get started at ready.gov/older-adults. Brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council.
Hi, I'm Ryan Blaney, a third-generation race car driver. And we dedicate a lot of our time to going as fast as possible. My grandpa Lou is the reason why my dad and I started racing, and I'm really proud to follow in his tracks. But when my grandpa was diagnosed with Alzheimer's, it was a very unexpected bump in the road for us. I've learned a lot on this journey with my grandpa Lou, and the memories of my grandpa will always be with me. And in our family, we're used to getting involved, and I encourage you to do the same, especially when it comes to caring for your loved ones. When I think about Alzheimer's and the impact it had on my family, I recognize that losing a race isn't such a bad day after all. It's important to notice if older family members are acting differently, experiencing problems with their memory, or having trouble with routine tasks. Talking about Alzheimer's can be really tough, but if you notice something, have a conversation with your loved one. Encourage them to see a doctor or offer to go with them. Early detection of Alzheimer's can give your family time to explore support services, make a plan for the future, and access available treatments. If you or your family are noticing changes, it could be Alzheimer's. Talk about seeing a doctor together.
We're with Bridget, whose husband won't be home for months, and whose daughter is due any day. We're with Mike, who's leaving home to protect his family and yours. We're with all service members and their families who need community, connection, and maybe a bit of magic. Are you with them? Learn more at uso.org today. We're with Liam after his 4th military move, when being new is starting to get old. We're with Tara during the holidays, when she misses home the most. We're with all service members and their families who need connection, comfort, and a home away from home. Are you with them? Learn more at uso.org today.
Now, back to Florida's Voice with Drew Steele.
So I wonder if this is sort of a celebrity endorsement, kind of, sort of, for Trump. I heard this just the other day, and it's Elton John. And Elton John was doing an interview with Variety, and he was being asked about, Donald Trump was using Rocket Man, your song, in reference to Kim Jong-un in North Korea. And what about that? Were you upset about it? Now, right out of the gate, if they're asking that question because they're trying to get a response that you would imagine would be anti-Trump, but that's not really where it went.
I know that you're not a supporter of Donald Trump's. He loves your music. How did it feel when he took the lyrics to Rocket Man and he used it as a nickname for Kim Jong-un, and then he gave Kim Jong-un
I laughed. I thought it was brilliant. I just thought, good on you, Donald. I'm the Rocket Man, yeah. Donald's always been a fan of mine, and he's been to my concerts many, many times. So, I've always been friendly towards him, and I thank him for his support. Yeah, when he did that, I just thought it was hilarious. It made me laugh.
He gave Kim one of your CDs and signed it. That was in one of the books about him, because Kim, I guess, didn't know the song, so...
What's that?
He gave Kim Jong-un the signed CD.
Yes.
Which
he
never heard of it.
I know, of course he hasn't heard of me, Kim Jong-un. Maybe I'd be very surprised if he had. I've never toured North Korea, and I have no intention of doing so. But I thought it was a light moment, and it was.
All right, so it was a light moment. So it feels like the person from Variety was like, I know you're not a fan of Trump's, and he used your song. What do you have to say about that? And instead of getting this. It was an outrage. I can't believe he did this. Or it was an outrage. I can't believe he did. I can't do a British accent. I'm sorry. But there's Elton John who's like, listen, he's been to my shows. He likes my music. I appreciate him. And I thought it was funny. I got a kick out of it. I wonder what the people at Variety were thinking at that moment. It's like, oh, no. It's... Which, by the way, Big D in the studio, Derek. Derek, are you an Elton John fan at all? Do you know Elton John music? Is it something you have on your car at all, a car radio or whatever it is? Your phone?
I'm a fan of the music. I like a bunch of his songs. I might have one or two on my Spotify. I wouldn't call myself a fan, though.
Okay, so your favorite Elton John song is? Yeah. Ooh. It's not Rocket Man.
It is definitely not Rocket Man. It's probably We Didn't Start the Fire.
We Didn't Start the Fire? You mean the Billy Joel song?
Oh, wow. I am totally mixing things up here. Never come to me again, Drew. Never come to me again.
That's all right. That's my fault because I came to you and you weren't ready for the Elton John discussion. That's okay. I hate the Elton John song "We Didn't Start the Fire." I love the Billy Joel song "We Didn't Start the Fire."
Right,
that was actually one of the good.
It's been bad enough on me. Leave me alone.
Yeah. Okay. That's all right. It's okay. I came to you and you weren't thinking Elton John this morning. That's all right. Listen, at this early moment in time, you're thinking something else. You're thinking NFL football and Taylor Swift. Is that what you're thinking? You're thinking about the games yesterday and no, I have to be honest. I can't even think of what would be my favorite Elton John song if there were one. But I would imagine it would be like one of the early 70s songs because I can't imagine it's the 80s song where it got really, the poppy. I guess that's why they call it the blues and all of that stuff. I don't know. So I'll give that to you. That I couldn't tell you either. So, all right. Coming up, we've got on the way more conversations about the debates tomorrow night and some of what we're hearing out of the Kamala Harris camp.
You're listening to Florida's Voice with Drew Steele.
What I know about courage, I learned from my adoptive mom. She said sometimes you just gotta hold on and know we'll get through this. Mom, we are so high up. Hold my hand.
No, you hold my hand.
Here we go.
Learn about adopting a teen from foster care. You can't imagine the reward. Visit adoptuskids.org to find out more.
I learned patience from my adoptive dad. All he had to say was,
"Hey, you got this. Just breathe." Hey, we're pretty good.
Yeah.
We might have to start a band.
I got it.
Learn about adopting a teen from foster care. You can't imagine the reward. Visit adoptuskids.org to find out more. This message is brought to you by Adopt US Kids, the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, and the Ad Council.
All right, coming up, we're going to have a conversation with State Attorney, 9th Judicial Circuit, Andrew Bain. Looking forward to that conversation. And Kathleen Passidomo also is going to be joining us. Listen, anytime you want to call, we're live, 866-588-8303. It's Florida's Voice.
You're listening to Florida's Voice with Drew Steele. Florida's Voice with Drew Steele.
Congratulations on your show. Congratulations on your new show. Big deal, huh?
That's why shows like yours are so important.
Once people realize, when you explain what I just explained about how this is so vague and so ambiguous, it's not popular.
She has to prove it to those people. Those people already know who Donald Trump is. All the pressure's on Kamala Harris.
We trust our leaders here in Florida. We just don't trust our leaders in Washington.
Consumers don't want this stuff, and we need companies to focus on making products and services, not brainwashing people.
We have an independent county elected sheriff that's the head of law enforcement in Jacksonville/Duval County. And I know how to work toward making this city safe.
We can't be shy about speaking on things such as faith and politics. We have to remember, in a free society, the public square belongs to all of us.
Florida's Voice with Drew Steele.
Uh-oh, Brad's buzzed. Oh, yeah? Yeah, he's starting with the woots. And now a speech.
I just want to say that friendship is about heart and brain. Who's with me?
Good thing is, he knows when he's buzzed.
And my brain is saying, when it's time to go home, somebody call me a ride.
Love that guy. Me too.
Know your buzzed warning signs? Call for a ride when it's time to go home. Buzz driving is drunk driving. A message from NHTSA and the Ad Council.
Hey, it's Drew Steele with an offer that can help steer your retirement in the right direction. Look, we're going to navigate the turbulent waters of 24 with its financial uncertainties and shifting tides. Having expert guidance is more crucial than ever, and that's where my good friend Alfie Townsend comes in. As Southwest Florida's certified financial planner professional, Alfie brings expert knowledge and insight. His latest book, Making Waves in Retirement, isn't just a guide. It's your navigational compass for mastering the financial seas. With decades of experience, Alfie has crafted a powerful roadmap to help you chart your course and make impactful waves in your retirement. Look, for a limited time, you can claim your free copy of this valuable guide. That's right, no cost. This book is more than just pages. It's your blueprint for a prosperous and fulfilling retirement. Don't let this opportunity drift by. Text book to 239-747-1080. That's book to 239-747-1080. Look, secure your free copy today. Let's make 24 the year you confidently navigate towards a brighter financial future. Text book to 239-747-1080.
In Iraq, our truck hit a roadside bomb. I had about 16 surgeries on my hand so that I could regain function. And when I came home, I needed a new roof due to a storm. And I was about to lose homeowners insurance as well. I applied for Operation Homefront Critical Financial Assistance Program. And it's good to know that when we come home, there are people who are there that care about us. Operation Homefront, they've really been a blessing.
Visit OperationHomefront.org to learn more. We're with Bridget, whose husband won't be home for months, and whose daughter is due any day. We're with Mike, who's leaving home to protect his family and yours. We're with all service members and their families who need community, connection, and maybe a bit of magic. Are you with them? Learn more at USO.org today. We're with Liam after his 4th military move, when being new is starting to get old. We're with Tara during the holidays, when she misses home the most. We're with all service members and their families who need connection, comfort, and a home away from home. Are you with them? Learn more at USO.org today.
You can't escape a traffic jam. Know what else you can't escape? Seasonal allergies. And you might think you can avoid that coffee stain until... Oh, really? You can't escape a lot of things in life, but you can escape prediabetes. Prediabetes captures 1 in 3 adults. There are usually no signs of prediabetes. In fact, most people don't even know they have it. But with early diagnosis, you can change the outcome and prevent or delay type 2 diabetes. Take action by taking the 1-minute risk test at doihaveprediabetes.org. You might not be able to escape having this song stuck in your head, but you can escape prediabetes. Go to doihaveprediabetes.org today. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention.
What I know about courage, I learned from my adoptive mom. She said sometimes you just gotta hold on and know we'll get through this. Mom, we are so high up. Hold my hand.
No, you hold my hand.
Here we go.
Learn about adopting a teen from foster care. You can't imagine the reward. Visit adoptuskids.org.
I learned patience from my adoptive dad. All he had to say was,
Hey, you got this. Just breathe. Hey, we're pretty good.
Yeah.
Might have to start a band.
I got it.
Learn about adopting a teen from foster care. You can't imagine the reward. Visit adoptuskids.org to find out more. This message is brought to you by Adopt US Kids, the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, and the Ad Council.
Thank you for waking us all up out here, for all you do. And
thank you for giving us a voice.
For being out there helping keep the constitutional republic. I want to thank you for your support for veterans in the military. Educating us. Standing up for conservatism. Giving us the truth.
Florida's Voice with Drew Steele.
Hey, it's great to see you all here. 866-588-8303. Anytime you want to call the program, we are live and looking forward to hearing from you. Coming up, probably one of the biggest, most important statements made by Bernie Sanders over the weekend on Meet the Press, something that I should play multiple times today because you are not going to believe what he has now admitted. Probably something that everybody figured is the case. But let's just put it this way. The left in this country doesn't have a problem anymore with telling you who they are. They don't have a problem telling you who they are, admitting what at times you can't believe is the truth. And I just don't think they care. I think that now more than ever, they feel emboldened in a lot of ways to say and do things that would never be done before. And so I'm going to get that audio up and ready coming up in just a minute. And even when it comes to a lot of what we're seeing here in the country, certainly the concerns in this state about what has been going on with the illegal immigration issue, keeping streets safe, certainly keeping communities safe. It's so important that we recognize what's going on, making sure that we don't have those issues here. And so I'm really happy to have a conversation about this and so many other things with State Attorney Andrew Bain, who's joining us right now on Florida's Voice. He's the State Attorney for the 9th Judicial Circuit. And I so appreciate you joining us today. How are you, sir? Oh, if you, I think your microphone might be muted. If you want to just.
Good morning, everyone. Good to be here.
Yeah, it's good to see you. And first of all, I have to tell you that is one of the big things that people talk about now. And it feels like this discussion didn't happen until just the past few years. The concerns about keeping our communities safe. And it feels as if most of it stems from what has been the left's reaction to policing, some of the answers, the things that they talk about with regard to reimagining policing, even some of just keeping the country safe overall. Maybe you can give us a little oversight as to some of what you've recognized, some of the things that are going on with communities in your vicinity, and some of the things even that your friends and neighbors have been talking to you about, quite frankly.
Yeah. So everybody wants the same thing. So the government's basic, idea and basic principle is to keep you safe. That is the first thing that the government is supposed to do for the people that it serves. And for some reason, we have now, in so many ways, some people believe that that's a secondary thing. But it can't be. The first thing that my job is to do for the people here, especially in our surrounding communities as well, those counties, is to provide safety for them. So people want to be safe in their homes. They want to be safe going to work. They want to be safe having dinner or going out for a night out with their friends and family. They want to have safety. And so to do that, you have to hold people accountable. That's just a basic idea. So you have to hold people accountable for their actions. You can't make excuses for them. You have to do that. Now, there's a space, and I do a lot of work in the prevention space and the intervention space. But when it comes to holding people accountable for the things they do, you have to do that to do this job and to have the safer communities that we want to see. And that's really what the people in the Ninth Circuit really want and been talking about. Everything else they've been talking about, and the politics and the craziness, has absolutely nothing to do with, are you safe today? Do you feel safer than you were a year ago before we came into office? Do you see us putting forth a work product to stop gangs, to stop the fentanyl crisis, to put a stamp on the human trafficking issue that we have here? And that's what people really want to hear and really want to talk about.
Yeah, and the thing that I hear, and I'm sure you hear as well, is first of all, we know what works. We know what we can do in our communities to keep our families safe, to keep our communities safe. And so when there are people who make suggestions otherwise, like there are other things that you can do, not only in the space of how you deal with, for example, crime prevention with local organizations, and maybe you can talk about that, but also like you discussed on the prevention side. It's sometimes shocking to me how people want to do this whole reinvention of things that are pretty basic and simple, and we know what to do, but you have to be willing to lead to get to that place.
Yeah, exactly, and that's the whole idea. So we've known since, like I said, I talked a story a lot of times about my great grandmother was illiterate. And we know now and have known now for more than half a decade century, that, education is prevention. Like, education is crime prevention. An well-educated society has low crime. It's just part of what happens. So if you educate your society, if you teach, make sure our kids know how to do basic things, how to read and write and, do math, you will have less crime, just by doing that simple thing. And for some reason, we try to reinvent things. I don't reinvent anything. I start at the root causes of issues. Do we have a well-educated society in those communities that create a lot of violence in our community? And the answer is no. Then we can do something about it. If we have, so the next thing you have to deal with is poverty. So are we doing something actually to provide opportunities for people to better themselves and encourage that? We should be leading on that issue. But if people who don't want to engage, they don't want to, take the olive branch, you have to be there to enforce the law. Again, safety is the basic thing that government has to provide for the people that it serves.
Yeah. And I would say there's probably something to be said, and maybe you can speak to this as well, on how many times people might push back against some of what you're describing, only to find out that when you put those actions or those words into action and you get results, people change their minds. You can change the hearts and minds of people when you get results. That's ultimately, I think, how your job, let's just say, and the things that you're looking at, things are going to get better. You may say even in the 30,000-foot view, how people who come to the state and are looking for law and order. They want their community safe. They see it happening here. They come from other places to come here to enjoy what we have here in the state of Florida. And it's all because of results. Like the things that we do get results, and how that's such an important aspect to all of this.
Yeah, for some reason, people believe government is based on nepotism, and it's not. Government should be based on, like any other place where you work or you invest your money. You want results. You want results from your government. So we provide results here in the Ninth Circuit. We reduced our homicide rates. We reduced our shootings. We stopped putting bad people back out on the streets to keep harming our community. We have been doing the work. And on the other end, yes, we have been saying, hey, our reading scores are horrific in a lot of these areas where a lot of this violence is occurring. So let's get in there. Let's bring in a specialist. Let's do the things that we need to do to change that. So it's about getting results. There's nothing better than doing that. And so you should vote for people that get results. Not about nepotism, not about popularity. Are they providing the service that you want to see in your community? And that's the bottom line. Are they the most qualified person to provide that service? Have they been doing a good job of doing it? And that's just simple. If the answers are yes, 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 that's the person that should be in office. If it's no, maybe, they're going to say they're going to do something, they're going to promise something, they can't really bring to fruition, then the answer is no. So that's, we can't have a government based on nepotism. We have to have a government based on results. And Florida has been actually leading in that results that, so that's people come here. They've been moving here. I started probably a few years ago with about 1.79 million people. Now I'm up to 2.2 million people in this circuit, and it's not slowing down. So, people are still coming in, regardless of, how some people want to frame that, things are so bad here in Florida.
Right. Yeah, that's the key. And there's no doubt that it is so important that people realize that ultimately it is about results. It's about getting results. And it's ultimately what changes hearts and minds is, look, give me the position to do this. Let me be able to work with my local community and local authorities. Let's show you how intervention works. Let's show you how prevention works. And then just like the state overall, all of a sudden you're living in this community, you're living in this district, you're living in this area, and you find out that, wow, okay, I'm getting the results I want. And so you're putting your words to action, and it's so important to do that. And so we appreciate you doing that as well. And appreciate you joining us this morning. Andrew Bain, State Attorney, 9th Judicial Circuit, joining us on Florida's Voice. Listen, I hope we get an opportunity to do this again real soon, okay? God bless.
Yeah,
we'll see you soon.
I'd love to speak to you all again. Have a great day.
All right, you too. Appreciate him. Andrew Bain right there. And, it's such a big deal. It's something that we don't talk about enough. That in the state of Florida, for example, how cool is it that there are people that realize that when they come to this state, they know they are going to get fill in the blank. They know they get good governance. They know they get good stewardship of our tax dollars. They know that they're going to have safe communities. We are going to work hard to make sure that all of the things that they are leaving and coming here for exist. And there are very few few states that are like that. And so it's a good thing. All right, 866-588-8303. I believe Greg is calling us right now. Greg, good morning. How are you, sir?
Good morning, Drew. It's great to watch you on your new venue here. I get to see you and hear you, and it's great. I get my daily dose of Drew now again.
Well, we appreciate that. What's going on with you today? What's on your mind?
Well, I've got a couple of questions here. I'll start out with the first one, and this has always kind of always confused me.
Yeah.
How could Kamala Harris be anywhere in the polls? This should be totally dumped, based just upon the last 3.5, 4 years with the Biden-Harris administration, it's a mess. It was a clown show. It was embarrassing. And why would anyone on earth even consider voting for, let alone, it's a pretty close race.
Yeah, well, first let's start with this. Hold on a second.
It's not Kamala.
I'm just
not
playing
Kamala. It's Kamala.
It's not. Yeah, it's Kamala. So don't forget that part. Yeah. So we got to start there. You got to be honest. Okay, that's the first thing.
We don't want you to get kicked off of YouTube.
Yeah, no, we don't want to get kicked off of any place. So right. So you got to pronounce the name correctly. That's the first thing. But the second part of your question, and I'm glad you're bringing this up because it goes to the audio clip that I'm going to play. There are people in this country who believe that Trump is the one who's still in office and Kamala Harris is the outsider, and don't think and realize that she has been here. It's a Biden-Harris administration. She's been part of all of it. She was the border czar. She's been part of knowing exactly, for example, what kind of condition Joe Biden was in for those 3.5 years and didn't say anything about that. How about that part, Greg? The fact that she knew all along, right? So there's that. But then the other thing, and let me play this clip for you because I think you'll find this interesting, and then we can get back to the conversation. So over the weekend, Bernie Sanders is on Meet the Press, and Kristen Welker asks him a question, and his answer is remarkable. And I want you to listen to this, and then I'll ask you about it here. Check this out.
Described Vice President Kamala Harris as a progressive. She has previously supported Medicare for All now. She does not. She's previously supported a ban on fracking now. She does not. These, Senator, are ideas that you have campaigned on. Do you think that she is abandoning her progressive ideals?
So she's talking about all the progressive ideals and all of these things that she's changed her mind on. She's changed her mind on fracking. She's changed her mind. What else?
Described Vice President Kamala Harris as a progressive. She has previously supported Medicare for All now.
So no Medicare for all, no fracking. All of a sudden she's flip-flopping. And here's Bernie Sanders' answer. Listen to this.
No, I don't think she's abandoning her ideals. I think she's trying to be pragmatic and doing what she thinks is right in order to win the election.
Wow. So he thinks that she's doing what she thinks is right to win the election, Greg. Do you see where we're going here? The fact is that...
But why would he say that? Why would he say that? Because he's telling the truth, in essence.
Right.
And so...
That's exactly right.
I think then, the people would hear this. Now, maybe no one listened to him or to that show, but, they're not even trying to be... He's for once not being dishonest. And so I just find this dumbfounding how she even has a 3%. I mean, I just can't imagine anyone in their right mind.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So, you have still people who after Labor Day finally getting engaged. So they're finally getting in.
Right.
And so that's why tomorrow in this debate is going to be such a big deal because of that fact that this is the first time that they will actually be engaged, take the time out to sit in front of the TV and listen to what she has to say. And it could be the pivotal moment. I mean, the numbers are already showing that it looks like the people are starting to lean in more towards Trump. But really, this is going to be that moment. They're going to get to hear her speak. And nobody wants the flip-flopping. And to Bernie Sanders' point right there, it's like, whatever. They just want to win an election. That has to be played over and over and over again, and I plan on doing that. And there was something else that you wanted to mention, Greg, this morning?
Yeah, actually kind of dovetails into what you're just saying here as it relates to the debate. Do you think it's going to be at all fair, and you think they'll be even capable on, ABC, of rigging it for her, number one? And number two, what would be the one or two or three or whatever number of things that you would do to advise Trump in the way that he handles himself in the debate?
Okay. Well, I want to answer those questions. Greg, let me say goodbye to you, and thanks for the call. I appreciate it so much. Thanks for calling in to Florida's Voice. Again, 866-588-8303. Anytime you want to call into the program, we would love to hear from you. Yeah, so the first part is they're not going to be able to rig anything on the ABC side. I mean, they can throw softballs out, but she still has to answer the questions. And as some people have already described, just let Trump let her speak. That's all he has to do. Just show up, answer the questions, let her talk. They're not able to, remember, they're not able to do anything with regard to the microphones. Both mics will be off. There's no audience, so there's no way that she can have that viral moment. So as far as ABC is concerned and what they will do, there's really not much that they can do to like rig it one way or the other, I would assume. And then the other part of it is, look, if you're going to be Trump and you're going to be his camp, that's what you do, just like I described. Just let her talk. That's all you need to do. And as long as she is able to take what we've all been seeing, someone who doesn't feel very comfortable being out there and having to prep and have this highly choreographed practice session and debate prep when she's being asked and she's at a spice store about prep. And this is how the questions were going.
Are you ready to face Donald Trump?
Yes, I am. Yes.
Best part of debate prep for you? What's your favorite?
Being at the spice store, I finally got out of the debate prep to look at these spices.
Her favorite part of the debate prep is being able to be at the spice store. That's like, isn't that it? That's all you have to do. Just let her talk. How is she going to be able to articulate, for example, how you're going to bring down inflation when it is your administration that's been causing all of this? How are you going to be able to make the case that you want to secure the border when you're the one, as the borders are, who did nothing to secure the border? How are you going to be able to talk about how tough you're going to be on the world stage and fighting for this country when nobody thinks that you can even walk into a spice store and have a logical, clear, coherent answer on a debate? How in the world are you going to debate and be clear and coherent with some of the toughest world leaders that are out there? Again, people make it seem as if Donald Trump has never been the president of the United States before, which is ridiculous. We all went through the 4 years of the Trump presidency. We all know what we had as the end result. We all know how good it was. So all he has to do is let her speak. And I love how finally, if you go to KamalaHarris.com, the website, there's actually an issue section now. Would you look at that? And it talks about all the issues and the things that they're going to do. And each little nugget, each place where they are describing what they want to do, and of course, has been carefully planned out, carefully described, because they've had time to do it. They didn't have to roll this out quickly. They figured out ways to make it seem as if Kamala Harris has not been part of an administration, like she's not the vice president, which is ridiculous. But then each section ends with Trump's Project 2025 agenda. Now, the funny part to me, and the honest discussion about that is, again, here we go. It's the two of us talking. It's real simple. How many people do you know of your friends and neighbors that are quite busy with the life that they are leading have any clue what Project 2025 is? Do they even know? Of course they don't. They have no idea. And to see tomorrow, I am sure, is Trump allowing Kamala Harris to speak, let her do her thing so people can see what she's all about, and then banking on that as people start to get engaged to see how she doesn't know what she's talking about. Top 5 audio clips coming up.
You're listening to Florida's Voice with Drew Steele.
I'm Chris Jakimick. I served in the United States Air Force, and I deployed 3 times.
being a veteran, it's interwoven into your DNA, is really the absence of the connection and the purpose that can really drive a lot of veterans to some negative thoughts. For those who are in a suicidal crisis, the window of time to save somebody's life is very short. Our duty is to protect ourselves and protect our families, and one way you can do that is store your weapons safely. Store all your guns securely. Help stop suicide.
Brought to you by End Family Fire and the Ad Council.
We're with Bridget, whose husband won't be home for months, and whose daughter is due any day. We're with Mike, who's leaving home to protect his family and yours. We're with all service members and their families who need community, connection, and maybe a bit of magic. Are you with them? Learn more at uso.org today. We're with Liam after his 4th military move, when being new is starting to get old. We're with Tara during the holidays, when she misses home the most. We're with all service members and their families who need connection, comfort, and a home away from home. Are you with them? Learn more at uso.org today.
What I know about courage, I learned from my adoptive mom. She said sometimes you just gotta hold on, and know we'll get through this. Mom, we are so high up. Hold my hand.
No, you hold my hand.
Here we go.
Learn about adopting a teen from foster care. You can't imagine the reward. Visit adoptuskids.org to find out more.
I learned patience from my adoptive dad. All he had to say was,
"Hey, you got this. Just breathe." Hey, we're pretty good.
Yeah.
Might have to start a band.
I got it.
Learn about adopting a teen from foster care. You can't imagine the reward. Visit adoptuskids.org to find out more. This message is brought to you by Adopt US Kids, the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, and the Ad Council.
You can't escape a traffic jam. Know what else you can't escape? Seasonal allergies.
No!
And you might think you can avoid that coffee stain until... Oh, really? You can't escape a lot of things in life, but you can escape prediabetes. Prediabetes captures 1 in 3 adults. There are usually no signs of prediabetes. In fact, most people don't even know they have it. But with early diagnosis, you can change the outcome and prevent or delay type 2 diabetes. Take action by taking the 1-minute risk test at doihaveprediabetes.org. You might not be able to escape having this song stuck in your head, but you can escape prediabetes. Go to doihaveprediabetes.org today. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention.
Hi, I'm Ryan Blaney, a 3rd-generation race car driver. And we dedicate a lot of our time to going. It was the reason why my dad and I started racing, and I'm really proud to follow in his tracks. But when my grandpa was diagnosed with Alzheimer's, it was a very unexpected bump in the road for us. I've learned a lot on this journey with my grandpa Lou, and the memories of my grandpa will always be with me. And in our family, we're used to getting involved, and I encourage you to do the same, especially when it comes to caring for your loved ones. When I think about Alzheimer's and the impact it had on my family, I recognize that losing a race isn't such a bad day after all. It's important to notice if older family members are acting differently, experiencing problems with their memory, or having trouble with routine tasks. Talking about Alzheimer's can be really tough, but if you notice something, have a conversation with your loved one. Encourage them to see a doctor or offer to go with them. Early detection of Alzheimer's can give your family time to explore support services, make a plan for the future, and access available treatments. Family are noticing changes, it could be Alzheimer's. Talk about seeing a doctor together.
To some, the sound of a baby babbling doesn't mean much, but that's not true. They're testing out vowels and consonants and trying different sounds. And by 12 months, their babbling is beginning to take on meaning, especially if there's no babbling at all. Little to no babbling by 12 months or later is just one of the possible signs of autism in children. Learn more at autismspeaks.org.
Hey, it's Drew Steele with a game-changing offer for those ready to master their retirement journey. Look, we're going to navigate unpredictable waters in 24, an election year marked by financial uncertainty. It's crucial. You've got to have expert guidance. That's where my good friend Alfie Townsend comes in. The Southwest Florida certified financial planner professional, Alfie brings unparalleled experience and insight to the table. His latest book, Making Waves in Retirement, it's not just a guide. It's your strategic compass for navigating the financial seas with confidence. Look, with decades of experience, Alfie has created a powerful roadmap. It'll help you chart your course and make meaningful waves in your retirement. And for a limited time, you can get your hands on this book free. That's right, no cost. The book is more than just a collection of stories. It's a blueprint for achieving a prosperous and fulfilling retirement. So don't miss out. Text book to 239-747-1080 right now. It's book to 239-747-1080 and claim your free copy today. Let's make 24 the year you confidently steer towards a brighter financial future. Text book to 239-747-1080.
Now, back to Florida's Voice with Drew Steele.
All right, Senator Kathleen Passidomo scheduled to join us in just a couple of minutes. But first, it's time for the top 5 audio clips of the day. Let's do that right now.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. This is Drew's top 5. Number 5.
Never seen the enthusiasm and the love that we have now. This has really been incredible. And if I didn't think we did well last time, I wouldn't have done this because, you know, it's a little tough life. It's not the easiest. You get shot at, other things happen, other routine events happen. But we're going to do it for one reason. I wouldn't have changed. They asked me just a little while ago, a reporter said, "Sir, if you had to do it again, would you do it again?" I said, absolutely, because we're going to make America great again. And that's better than my life.
Wow, that's better than my life. That was at a campaign rally in Wisconsin talking about how, listen, would he do it all again? Yeah, wants to make America great. But again, that his life is less important than doing what's right for the country. I mean, that's a pretty heavy statement there, right?
Number 4.
Director Brennan, good morning to you. Would you pull back the curtain for us? Help us understand how this type of mis and disinformation is identified and then flagged within the U.S. government.
Well, there has been a concerted effort on the part of the U.S. intelligence community and law enforcement community to try to uncover and reveal and then thwart these Russian information and disinformation operations. We've had many years of experience in the U.S. government of having to deal with first Soviet and then Russian disinformation activities. The challenge now is that with the development of the digital domain and with so many social media platforms.
All right, let me just stop right there. That's John Brennan, formerly CIA director, and John Brennan, who was on the weekend programs, who was talking about the mis and disinformation that's out there and is, you know, Republicans and YouTubers and bloggers, and they're the problems, and these are the things that we have to watch out for. And I just think it's an interesting thing coming from John Brennan. John Brennan, that's the guy who was one of the 51 people that signed off on Hunter Biden's laptop being Russian disinfo that we found out was not true. Yeah. So I'm just wondering if, along with some of the other things, the alphabet bureaucracies that helped to try to bring down Trump and the whole Russia collusion nonsense that was going on, starting with the escalator in 2015, I'm not sure John Brennan is the guy that you want to go to ask about Russian disinfo. You know what I'm saying?
Number 3.
I don't know. I read the notes, Elizabeth. You're just going to tell me raising or cutting taxes on the wealthy, as if corporations are a code word for the wealthy. I just don't understand that, because
I don't think that's true at all.
Okay, aren't you saying that's all he wants to do is cut taxes for the wealthy? Why is cutting taxes on corporations for the wealthy? Why is that for the wealthy?
I think there's both. I think, one, we know that capital income represents, for the top households, represents a huge amount of their income relative to wage income at the bottom. And so when those corporations do better, or when they're given tax breaks, that flows to the top households. But I don't think that...
So that's a bad thing? Seriously, Elizabeth, that's a bad thing. Who do you think provides the jobs in this country and the people that work at those companies that pay the taxes to afford everything we do. The government can't provide jobs. Who's going to pay the government workers? The government doesn't have...
The government is, in fact, the largest employer in the United States.
Yeah, exactly. And where do you get the money to pay? Where do you get the money to pay those employees?
Are we really doing this? Yes. On CNBC, Joe Kernan is arguing with a Democrat strategist, Elizabeth Pancotti, who apparently doesn't know how the economy works. And they were talking about taxes and tax plans and what to do. And she's talking about the government being the biggest employer. And he's like, do you not know how they get paid? Where do you think they're coming up with the money? It's like some of the 101 things that you would imagine a Democrat strategist knows about. Yeah, don't even worry about it, because I don't think they know what they're talking about.
Number 2.
We're in a position where we have two very deceptively worded, misleading amendments. Neither of them should have been allowed to be on the ballot by the Florida Supreme Court, but here we are. And so it's a responsibility for people affiliated with the Republican Party of Florida to stand up and say, no, we are doing fine as a state. We do not need to change the fabric of the state.
Wow, pretty interesting statements made by the governor just the other day, Governor DeSantis, who is very concerned about some of the amendments that are out there and what's coming up in the next a couple of weeks as we get ready for an election, and amendments that, listen, are poorly worded, that people on the outside coming into our state to try to fundamentally change the Constitution to get what they want passed. And he's worried about it, and I think we should all be worried about that process.
Number 1.
Described Vice President Kamala Harris as a progressive. She has previously supported Medicare for all. Now she does not. She's previously supported a ban on fracking. Now she does not. These, Senator, are ideas that you have campaigned on. Do you think that she is abandoning her progressive ideals?
No, I don't think she's abandoning her ideals. I think she's trying to be pragmatic and doing what she thinks is right in order to win the election.
What? So there's Bernie Sanders, who is doing and saying what Democrats seem to do.
This is what you do.
Yeah, what you do is you lie, basically. So when Kristen Welker on Meet the Press was like, she's flip-flopping all over the place. She's changing. Maybe she's not as progressive as people are describing. And Bernie's like, no, she's a progressive. She's just as progressive as she's always been. She's just trying to win an election. What?
Drew's Top 5.
Yep, that's what you heard. Unbelievable. But, you know, these are the concerns that we have going into the November election. And, you know, it's one of the reasons why good governance is so important. I can't say it enough. And people who has been front and center in good governance here in the state is Senator Kathleen Passidomo, who's joining us this morning on Florida's Voice. We're so happy that she is here with us this morning. It's been a while since we've had a chance to talk, but it's always great to see you. How are you this morning?
I'm doing great, and it's great to speak to you again. I think it's been almost a year.
I know, it feels like it's been a while, but I know it's been so busy, and you've been busy, and I know that, by the way, I was looking on your X account, and I was checking out, it looks as if there was a lot of work going on around you recently. Are you with the office, how it started and how it's going, the office work that's being done? I'm laughing because it's pretty funny. So I guess there's a lot of work that's going on there, and it's just seeing all of that, and the work doesn't stop. Doesn't matter. It's sort of like an analogy of how it works for you. It's like, it doesn't matter what's happening around, the work's got to get done, and there you are at a little table getting it all done. It doesn't stop, right? I like that picture.
Well, we have been doing renovations to the Senate office building for the last 4 years. Taking out the asbestos and putting in security windows and the like. And I set that picture up because, as you know, I'll be vacating the president's office in November, and that's the last thing being done. And I was up there last week, and I said, let's do a picture. Let's put me at a card table and hang the Queen picture. And I joked with incoming President Albritton that maybe I'll just leave him the furniture and see what he does. But
That's like leave it there and see how it ends up. No, it's funny. I just noticed that. But seriously though, as the time now in the office is finishing up, and you think about all that you've been able to accomplish, maybe looking at some of the moments that maybe you're the most proud of, the things that have happened. I know for me what it is. I'd love to hear some of your thoughts on that.
Well, we took on some really big issues. They're all the live issues, if you will. We had the live local, which is the workforce housing bill in my first session. And that was a big undertaking. And we had a lot of stakeholders involved. We worked all summer before I took over and talked to everybody about what the issues are. And so, that bill was, I think, well received. I think it's starting to work. And so I'm really proud of that. Then my second session, we did the Live Healthy. We had gotten a lot of criticism about not expanding Medicaid. And I kept saying to people, we don't have enough healthcare personnel in our state to handle the people that are here. And whether you have insurance, the best insurance in the world, or no insurance, whether you're on Medicaid or even Medicare, if you can't get in to see a physician, what good is it? So we did a very large scale bill that's aimed to increase the workforce, the healthcare workforce. We also have a component, as you know, I heard you speak about it. We have people in our state that have serious mental issues, and we just need to start addressing them. And so we are setting up a behavioral teaching hospital scenario where we will train individuals to go into the healthcare field and treat our Florida.
I think we lost the feed, Derek. I think, we lost the feed. If she wants to call in, or we can try to get her back in just a second. Oh, there she is. She's back.
Yeah, so I don't know how much I heard about the wildlife corridor, but the expansion of the corridor is so important to the future of our state. And I'm really proud of that. And then the last thing that I'm really proud of is our dereg of our traditional public schools. And as we go into this school choice full bore, we also need to give the traditional public schools the ability to compete as well. So we did a dereg, and we're taking away some burdensome regulations that don't affect students' accountability and schools' accountabilities, but take away some of the stupid things that we've made them do over the last couple of years.
Yeah. You got a little cut off there with the wildlife corridor. Yeah. And so if you want to just make mention of that once again, because I think it really is an important issue.
Well, that's something that President Simpson, who was president before me, undertook to actually codify the wildlife corridor into statute. And that is to protect our farmland and our ranch land so that our wildlife, the panthers, the bears, Florida's wildlife, have places to roam that are not in developed areas. So we just expanded that, also put in a provision for public access through bike paths and the like, and putting more money into not only acquiring these properties to protect them and preserve them, but to, again, maintain it. So I think it's a really good initiative. And I remember President Simpson said this to me one time: if you look at Florida from space at night, what do you see? Up the East Coast and the West Coast, lights everywhere. But in the center, it's dark because that's ranch land and farmland. And so the question is, do we want to see the whole state lit up like a Christmas tree, or do we want to protect and preserve our farmland and ranch lands, which of course provides food for us? So I'm really proud of our initiative, and I look forward to my successor is going to continue in that effort as well.
Yeah, and now that you've got the remaining 2 years, I know obviously how at snap of a finger, legislative session, it's like right around the corner. You think about how quickly things pop up. Have you thought about some of what you would like to see coming up now in the next few years?
Well, I'm really excited to work with President-designate Albritton. You know, he's a really a wonderful.
Oh, I think we lost her again. There, guys. Oh, she froze. Well, let's do this, Derek. Put her on hold for just a second, and maybe if she wants to call back, because we're going to go to break right now. But why don't we do this? Why don't we go to break, and then when we come back, we can have her back on to finish that thought, because we've got a couple of more minutes before we finish out the program. So let's not let the technicalities here disrupt that. So let's do this. Sit tight. We'll go to break. When we come back, we'll finish up our conversation with Senator Kathleen Passidomo. A lot of important things to look forward to in the next few years. I want to hear what she has to say, and I know you do as well. So we'll have that conversation coming up in just a second. This is Florida's Voice.
You're listening to Florida's Voice with Drew Steele.
Babes, what are you doing?
What? I'm just mowing the lawn.
No, it's blazing hot and dry out here. Don't you remember? Smokey Bear says.
Avoid using power equipment when it's windy or dry.
Where'd you learn this?
Oh, it's on
SmokeyBear.com with many other wildfire prevention tips.
Right. Thanks, Honey Bear.
Because remember, only you can prevent wildfires.
Brought to you by the USDA Forest Service, your state forester, and the Ad Council.
All right, son. Time to put out this campfire.
Dad, we learned about this in school.
Oh, did you now? Okay. What's first?
Smokey Bear said to.
First drown it with a bucket of water, then stir it with a shovel.
Wow, you sound just like him.
Then he said.
If it's still warm, then do it again.
Where can I learn all this?
It's all on SmokeyBear.com with other wildfire prevention tips, because only you can prevent wildfires.
Brought to you by the USDA Forest Service, your state forester, and the Ad Council.
Are you prepared for an emergency or disaster? Because it's not a matter of if, but when. Don't find yourself saying,
I'll trust water bottles and a flashlight to save the day, but I'll be proved wrong.
With a tornado approaching, I'll realize that I lack a wheelchair-accessible shelter.
When the floodwaters rise, I'll be up in the attic with 20 cans of beans. It's a recipe for disaster.
let's prepare so we all have a better story to tell. Get started at ready.gov/older adults. Brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council. Are you prepared for an emergency or disaster? Because it's not a matter of if, but when. Don't find yourself saying,
when the storm rolls in, my time to find a pet-friendly evacuation center will have run out.
The scorching heat wave will leave me powerless to cool my insulin.
I'll face a hurricane without meds. Now that's a tough pill to swallow.
Let's prepare so we all have a better story to tell. Get started at ready.gov/older adults. Brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council.
Hi, I'm Ryan Blaney, a third-generation race car driver, and we dedicate a lot of our time to going as fast as possible. My grandpa Lou is the reason why my dad and I started racing, and I'm really proud to follow in his tracks. But when my grandpa was diagnosed with Alzheimer's, it was a very unexpected bump in the road for us. I've learned a lot on this journey with my grandpa Lou, and the memories of my grandpa will always be with me. And in our family, we're used to getting involved, and I encourage you to do the same, especially when it comes to caring for your loved ones. When I think about Alzheimer's and the impact it had on my family, I recognize that losing a race isn't such a bad day after all. It's important to notice if older family members are acting differently, experiencing problems with their memory, or having trouble with routine tasks. Talking about Alzheimer's can be really tough, but if you notice something, have a conversation with your loved one. Encourage them to see a doctor or offer to go with them. Early detection of Alzheimer's can give your family time to explore support services, make a plan for the future, and access available treatments. If you or your family are noticing changes, it could be Alzheimer's. Talk about seeing a doctor together.
We're with Bridget, whose husband won't be home for months, and whose daughter is due any day. We're with Mike, who's going home to protect his family and yours. We're with all service members and their families who need community, connection, and maybe a bit of magic. Are you with them? Learn more at uso.org today. We're with Liam after his 4th military move, when being new is starting to get old. We're with Tara during the holidays, when she misses home the most. We're with all service members and their families who need connection, comfort, and a home away from home. Are you with them? Learn more at uso.org today.
Now, back to Florida's Voice with Drew Steele.
All right, we put a bow on the show. Once again, 866-833, or excuse me, 866-588-8303. We were just finishing up a conversation with Senator Kathleen Passidomo, so I wanted to bring her in because we were up against the break, but I wanted to finish up her thoughts because I know that as we've got a few more years to look forward to and some of the things that she's looking forward to doing there in the Senate and some of the things that are so important, I'm sure she's hearing from her constituents and things that are important to her as well. And so I wanted you to go over once again some of what we were talking about before.
Yeah, but hopefully we won't cut out this the internet. I like to blame the Chinese, but who knows?
Very nice. Well played. Yeah. Well played.
Well, we shall see. But, you know, I'm really fortunate that I have 2 more years and I'm Senator Albritton will make.
Oh, wow. Well, I guess the Chinese are playing with us here. That's they got her. All right, Derek. I guess ask her to call if she could, because that's where we are right now, unfortunately. Oh boy. Well, they got her.
I'm here.
Somehow. Oh wait, is she there now?
It hasn't cut out. It hasn't cut out on my. I'm here.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm blaming it's me. You know what it is? Maybe it's the work and the Senate offices there. It's following us all around. That's the problem. It's nothing we couldn't fix. All we need is duct tape, Senator. That's all we need. We need duct tape. Lots of duct tape. It cures everything. All right, we'll try this one more time. Go ahead.
I'm here, and you have not cut out on me, so I've been hearing you. I'm glad you didn't say anything negative about me.
Of course.
So. Well, we've been friends for what, 10 years?
Yeah. Yep.
So, I think we've got a lot to do in our state and some really important initiatives, particularly the economy. And we're going to have a little bit of a challenge with dollars because we will not have the COVID money. And so our state is going to be, even though we're doing well, we have a lot more people coming into our state, a lot more services to be provided. And, you know, I'm looking forward to helping in that regard over the next couple of years.
Yeah. All right. Well, listen, we'll finish up on that. And I'm sure we'll have you back and we will have zero interruptions side. We'll work on that. I'll work on that on my end because it's probably me. It's not you. It's me. It's
no, it's
that's why I say to my wife, I'll have to.
I'll take the blame. How's that? That's my job.
No, it's all right. Well, we're looking forward to another conversation very soon. Okay. All the best. And we'll see you soon.
Have a great day.
All right. Thanks so much. Senator Kathleen Passidomo joining us on Florida's Voice. Yeah, it's probably Derek. It's probably me, Derek. Blame me. I take full blame for all the things that go wrong here today. And that's what it's about. It's about taking the blame. All right. Listen, coming up tomorrow, we're going to talk a little bit more about what is going to be pretty important stuff here happening in this country. And look, we're going to have to really get down to what it is with your friends and neighbors, the people that you've got to have conversations with about what it is that they're thinking. You know, now more than ever, it is time for all of us to have the uncomfortable conversations. We just have to do it. Hopefully you're still having them now. But look, like we were describing with the numbers and what some of the tabs on the polling numbers show is it's all about turnout. Turnout is going to be everything. The people that didn't vote in 2020 are leaning towards Trump, and you've got to get your voice out there and make sure it's heard.
You're listening to Florida's Voice with Drew Steele.
What I know about courage, I learned from my adoptive mom. She said sometimes you just gotta hold on and know we'll get through this. Mom, we are so high up. Hold my hand.
No, you hold my hand.
Here we go.
Learn about adopting a teen from foster care. You can't imagine the reward. Visit adoptuskids.org to find out more.
I learned patience from my adoptive dad. All he had to say was,
"Hey, you got this. Just breathe." Hey, we're pretty good.
yeah.
Might have to start a band.
I got it.
Learn about adopting a teen from foster care. You can't imagine the reward. Visit adoptuskids.org to find out more. This message is brought to you by Adopt US Kids, the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, and the Ad Council.
All right, get ready, because coming up, if you stick around, we've got Florida's Voice, the podcast. Brendan Leslie will be joining us in just a little bit, so stay where you are. If you're on social media, if you're at the website, flvoicenews.com, we continue the conversation next.
You're listening to Florida's Voice with Drew Steele.
Hello and welcome. I'm Brendan Leslie. That's Drew Steele over there. How are you doing? This is Florida's Voice, the podcast you're listening to with Brendan Leslie and Drew Steele. Just finished your 5th episode of Florida's Voice Radio. How'd it go?
Great. Except for the end where we had a little technical issue, but that's okay.
So
stuff
damn
happens.
close
like,
to a
Kathleen
clean show.
Like she said, it was the Chinese.
I blame the
We got
Chinese for a
little
lot of
bit
things,
tech
so
issues.
it's fine.
Yeah, that's kind of,
We were so close.
Oh, great.
You had 2 hours and 45 minutes of perfection. Boom. Internet freeze on one of our guests, the last guest in the last segment. That's how it goes, right?
That's okay. Yeah, no worries. So what's up with you?
Nothing. Really nothing. I've been in a house by myself for a week now. Just me and the dogs and the cat. That's it. Boring life.
Nice.
Not a whole lot.
They're still around. They still hang out.
They're still there. I did not let them go. Love the dogs.
I was gonna say in my house they would have just left me. I'd be alone. I'd be by myself.
That's all right. Your wife and son will stay with you.
Yeah, they probably would have left too. Anyway.
So recap. What stood out to you today from the show?
Well, a couple of things. I know that Senator Kathleen Passidomo has got a few more years and obviously a lot more work to do. Describing some of what she was proud of and some of the accomplishments. And, I wonder what things will look like with a new Senate president. I wonder what the direction of the Senate will be. Remember, one of the things that has always been described for the longest time, for as long as I've lived here in the state of Florida, what's the one thing that everybody talks about when they talk about the Senate? They're always concerned about not only who's there and the relationships, but there's always the discussion about how it feels like the Senate is always less conservative than the rest of the House members. And And so there is always a discussion about how things will move, how some of the bills coming across, what they're going to look like, what they will be this legislative session. So it's kind of one of those looking forward to seeing what's coming and some of the work ahead.
I know
So
what to
that's the
expect.
first part.
I can answer that question for you. Good
Go ahead.
conservative fiscal policies. It's just going to continue. Listen, for the longest time, it was always the House was the conservative side, the Senate side was the squishy side. That is kind of flip-flopped. Now you got a super conservative Senate, and it really started way back when Senate President Wilson Simpson drew the new Senate maps in the state, which, by the way, they were so good and they cemented it for the Republicans that they didn't even get challenged in court. That's how good they were. So now you have this supermajority in the Florida Senate, supermajority +1, actually. And they've just been hammering out good stuff. And it's so important to have that supermajority because when there's issues, when there's really staunch Republican conservative policies that you need to get through, but maybe there's one vote that doesn't want to do it, it still passes because you have that supermajority. So the Democrats, they're irrelevant. They're not there. They're just this little pesky little gnat in the chamber. So it's exciting times. Senate President Kathleen Passidomo had a really good couple of years, and she's passing it over to incoming President Ben Albritton, who takes over this fall. And, I mean, he's a small-town farmer guy who understands good fiscal policy. So I'm excited to see what he can bring, especially on the conservation side of things. So it's going to be exciting times here in Florida.
Yeah, so that will be interesting to see. I thought, one of the other things today on the program was I thought that the clip that I played of Governor DeSantis, and, look, it was like scorched earth. A lot of people were talking about it that way. This event recently that he was at, where he was naming names and talking about Republicans in the state who were fighting against, let's just say, for example, Amendment 4 and putting their name where their mouth is and getting the message out and weren't afraid to be there. And even some on Amendment 3 and how he just doesn't understand why there are some that just won't do it. Like they don't, of course they get it, but the idea that politically that you're not on terra firma, solid ground, your values and your convictions are not solid enough that you can take a stand and stand up to what are forces, as he's described, from outside of the state that come in with their own vested interest, and even some that are in the state that have an interest in overturning what is the Constitution, that want to have those outside voices, like they figured out a way. How do we take a supermajority +1 and mute them? How do we neuter them? How do we do that? And the way you do it is by having outside forces come in and through the constitutional amendment process. And I'm not talking about things that are there to protect what are already given rights and worried about people trying to upend them. I'm talking about politically taking what has not been something agreed to by the people of this state and bring something in so vague that they can get what they want, their will done. And if for no other reason, how important this aspect of the story is, and I mentioned this morning. Take marijuana, the weed itself. Take your bag, put it aside. Abortion, take the issue of abortion and put it aside. Do you not care at all about what's in the language, how it's written? Do you not know what's in it? Do you not know what's missing? Do you not care enough? Like you care only about the headline, and you don't care about how people are coming into this state and bringing things and presenting things. And the whole action here is to deceive you. Do you not care about being deceived? I mean, I would imagine you do. And so even if you're somebody who is against marijuana itself, or somebody who is pro-marijuana, it's like, listen, I just want it to be legal. It's like there are a lot of Republicans too, if we're going to be honest, and you know this, Brendan, who are just like, I don't care. This is not that big a deal. It's just, it doesn't matter. You know, it's fine, whatever. The I don't care whatever is what they're banking on when it comes to, well, hold on. What about if maybe businesses want to be able to, or the legislature wants to be able to do something to tighten up and shore up some things that are happening in local communities, like outdoor dining or issues of places where you wouldn't be able to smoke, or certain carve-outs that are already been put there where the Supreme Court has already given into some of the carve-outs, where you're not going to be able to legislatively do anything to change some of the issues that could pop up. Like, you've given up too much because you haven't read into the language. And if anything, you can just pull back and say, no. Let's just stop this for a second. There's too many things in here that we're not sure about. There's too much that is, even in Amendment 4, that, you know, how could 30 some odd words or 40 some odd words or however many are in there without any specificity? How do you sign off on that? Even if you're pro-abortion, how do you sign off on something like that when even you might be appalled at some of the lack of restrictions that could be put on it? Like, ask yourself that question. So I think when the governor says to Republicans, look, these are the people that have spent time and effort to call all of this out. Where are the rest of you? If for no other reason that outside forces are coming in and manipulating what we've done here, that's kind of a big deal.
Yeah, it's unfortunate to see some of our Republicans that are up in D.C. from Florida that are still silent on this issue, but I can tell you who's not silent. I mean, we can focus on the negative, but I want to focus on the positive for a second.
Okay, good.
Florida Agriculture Commissioner Wilton Simpson has donated $200,000 to fighting Amendment 4. On top of that, the other Florida cabinet members, Attorney General Ashley Moody and CFO Jimmy Petronas, have both donated $100,000 to fight these amendments as well. So it's exciting that our Republicans here on the state level are leading the charge against this, because it really is. I mean, our left-wing competitors have been trying to spew just absolute nonsense and say that how wrong the governor is and the cabinet is for fighting against this, when I would argue that the truth is abortion is murdering babies. It's evil. Amendment 4 is evil at its inner core. Amendment 3 is way too vague and is going to set us up as a wild, wild west when it comes to marijuana. And you should vote no against it. So I'm happy to see Republicans on a unified front fighting against this. But I digress, and I want to go back to talking about the Florida Senate, because it's so we got a really important race coming up in the general election that not a lot of people might not realize. Listen, there is one important race in the Senate that will keep that supermajority +1 that we're talking about, and that's Senate District 3 up in the Big Bend area, Tallahassee and through the Big Bend. So it's like 12, 13 of those smaller counties up there. And just 2 years ago, for the first time ever, Republicans flipped that seat with a great Republican in Corey Simon. You've interviewed him on the show, a former NFL and college football star. And he is, I got to say, he's one of the more moral and just guys you'll ever see in politics. I would never define him as a politician. The Democrats know that. So that's why, and the Democrats are doing this in many races across the nation. They don't really have a platform to stand on, because a lot of the failures we're seeing across the nation is because of them. So what do they got to do to win these seats, down ballot seats? They need to lie, Drew. They need to lie. And that's what's happening right now in Senate District 3 in order to try and steal that seat back for the left. Listen, Darryl Parks is the Democrat opponent of Corey Simon, and he's going to spend millions and millions of dollars attacking Corey Simon. And listen, we got a video I want to play of a recent ad that he's put out on TV, and I'm going to point out why it's just a complete bold-faced lie. Derek, play the video, please.
Rights. He passed the extreme, no exceptions, abortion ban that would throw women and doctors in jail. Corey, you cost too much, man. I'm Darryl Parks. I say we're done paying your bill.
Ridiculous. Drew, you know why that ad is ridiculous?
Why?
Guess what Corey Simon didn't vote yes on? The 6-week abortion ban. Listen, we could have a whole separate discussion about whether he should or shouldn't have, but that's not we're talking about the truth here. Truth is, Corey Simon did not vote for the 6-week abortion ban, but you got his opponent, the Democrat, who is a radical, crazy, wackadoodle socialist, putting up these advertisements that are just lying. That's just a flat-out lie. He did not vote for the abortion ban. And you know what makes this story super juicy, Drew?
What's that?
Let's play another video of a recent interview that Daryl did on CNN. Derek?
Those people who continue to participate in gross untruths really should stop.
Oh! We should stop with sharing the untruths. It's gross! Okay. Okay, this is coming from the Johnny Cochran attorney wannabe who gave us the hands up, don't shoot lie. You know, when they said that Michael Brown was shot in Ferguson while holding his hands in the air, and that actually ended up being a lie, which led to a lot of riots and violence. This is who Darrell Brooks is. He's just a liar. He's a liar. So the mainstream media, of course, is not fact-checking it. And once again, Drew, I want to toot your horn. This is why we need Florida's Voice Radio and all the great work that everyone behind the scenes at Florida's Voice is doing, because the mainstream media is just going to keep propping up these lies. But the truth is, he did not vote for that. Your reaction to that rant?
So there's a lot to unpack. First of all, it's going to be important now more than ever. It's why we're here. It's why I'm here. Look, you know, it's going to be important that there are places where people can go to get the truth, to get the facts on what is happening, not just nationally and not just my opinion, but also what's going on here in the state that we love, a state where, again, through a constitutional amendment process, the leftists figure out a way to get around and circumvent what is your vote, and to get around the legislature. And this is what they figured out how to do here. And if it succeeds here, they'll try to do it in other states the same way. And we can't let that happen. That's the first thing. So it's important that people come here to get the facts and to hear like what you're describing, number one. Number two, you know, just like I was talking to this morning, I'm trying to remember, I don't know if it was, trying to think if it was Mike Haridopolos. Was it him? I don't know who it was specifically, but no, I think it was Andrew Bain that I was talking to, state attorney of the Ninth Judicial Circuit. And I was saying that how, look, when it comes to policing, keeping communities safe, all of the different things that, you know, that they're trying to accomplish, that we're all trying to accomplish in our state, in our community, that you would be surprised how many people will sit back and be quiet politically when they realize that when you say you're going to do something and then you do it and then you get a good result from it, that things change, people quiet down. They can't fight that. You can't fight results. So when you get the result, it's why we are so fortunate to live in the free state of Florida. It's why people come here, is because they see the results of what is Republican governance, good conservative governance, super majorities, if you will, in some of the decisions. Now, not everything is perfect. I mean, sometimes you get a little carried away. We can have that discussion for another day. Just because you have a super majority doesn't mean you necessarily have to use it all the time. We don't have to get too carried away with legislating. You don't have to. But the point is you get good things done, people realize it, and it's hard to vote against that. How? And then the third part of it is the lies, like what you just heard in those videos. I think more and more people, you know, need to hear an outlet that's going to be able to give them the truth, because the people that ad appeals to, I'm sure they're assuming that they are people who have not engaged yet, that they've got busy schedules, and that just those little sound bites and just the appearance on a CNN is enough to have them trust what they're hearing. And that's what we have to be careful of. That's why, as I ended the show, I'm serious about this. It's so important. Look, you got to talk to your friends and neighbors. The polling numbers, the national polling numbers, and what Nate Silver found out in the New York Times Siena poll, on the crosstabs of age, demographics. And when you see that people who didn't vote in 2020, Brendan, I don't know if you heard me talking about this. People who didn't vote in 2020 are leaning 49 to 40% for Trump.
Wow.
Those are people who didn't vote in 2020. You know what that means?
And that's what everyone was always saying, like, for Trump to win this election, he needs to find new voters.
Yep, and turnout is everything. So if you've got neighbors on your street who are really busy, not engaged, don't necessarily like to talk about it, you kind of have to figure out a way to engage with them and explain, this dude just put out a flat out lie, like the video you showed. This is, Kamala Harris has flip-flopped a million times on these issues, and Bernie Sanders admitted over the weekend that she's only flip-flopping because it's all about winning elections. That's what it is. Well, she's still a progressive, but we'll lie to your face to get into office, and then we'll do exactly what we've been doing and then some. As far as destroying this country. You can't sit back. You have to talk to people. Even if they get upset, it's like it's also your approach. Just don't tick them off. Just be gentle. Have an easy conversation. Just a couple of things, especially if they get riled up about like videos you just showed.
Just to put a bow tie on this, got my producer in the ear. I think I said Darryl Brooks. The opponent of Corey Simon is Daryl Parks. I was just so excited, screwed up his name there. But to kind of go into segue here into the final topic, it just this topic here just alone in a little district in Florida proves the evil and the strategic lies that the Democrats are putting out there. That was I mean, Senator Bernie Sanders said the part out loud, right, Drew? Do you want to play that audio?
Yeah, let me play that here. Listen.
Described Vice President Kamala Harris as a progressive. She has previously supported Medicare for all. Now she does not. She's previously supported a ban on fracking. Now she does not. These, Senator, are ideas that you have campaigned on. Do you think that she is abandoning her progressive ideals?
No, I don't think she's abandoning her ideals. I think she's trying to be pragmatic and doing what she thinks is right in order to win the election.
In order to do what's right to win an election, everybody.
So she's lying. The Democrats are lying.
Yeah, flat out.
And I think it was soon to be Congressman Mike Haridopolos that said this morning on your show they're just basically plagiarizing Trump's popular selling points, such as no tax on tips, no tax on Social Security, stuff like that. They're just taking. They don't believe in doing that stuff. She's just taking it because she don't have a platform to stand on.
By the way, a big shout out to DC Drano, because that's where I got that clip from, and he's absolutely right. Like, you've got to continue to play that over and over and over again. Bernie Sanders pretty much saying, no, she's a progressive. Nothing's changed. She's still a lefty. She's a commie. She's a Marxist. But we have to lie to the American people in order to get into office so that we can continue to do what we've been doing and then some. That's kind of a big deal. And then and again, it goes back to what we talked about before. You don't like to be lied to. I don't like to be lied to. I'm willing to bet that the people on your street don't like to be lied to. And in the amendment process, people are banking on your emotions, on your feels. The feels of, look, marijuana recreationally, so what? I know people that smoke it all the time. What's the big deal? They don't harm anybody. They don't hurt anybody. Yeah, but do you know what's in the amendment and what you can and can't do? Some of the things that are in there that this week specifically we're going to break down, because I know there are people that don't realize what's in the language, not the use of it itself. Get away from that. Put that aside for a second, but how you're being used. As Amendment 4 is the same thing. How vague it is. How can you not look at that and say, no, even somebody, again, who is pro-abortion, if that's you, I'm sure you have an idea of restrictions. I'm sure you have an idea on age. I'm sure you have an idea on a lot of different things. What is it? Safe, legal, and rare, or what was the expression? Back in the day with Democrats, it's nothing like that now. It's the Wild West.
Yep.
And so you can't allow that to happen, because then when this succeeds, you could say that the reason why we're in this place now is because other amendments have succeeded in the past that were brought up and it worked. And so they're just doing it now and then some with bigger issues than what we've had before on the amendments.
Well, what's the saying? You give an inch to the left, they take a mile. And right now, this is a big inch they're trying to take in the state. So it's important to fight against this. It's important. This is something we're going to talk about every single day, I'm sure of, on Florida's Voice until the election. But Drew, I kind of wanted to go to you for your final thoughts before we get on out of here for today.
All right, my final thoughts are, I cannot wait till Wednesday.
Yeah.
Wednesday morning, when we wake up, I think it will be the pivotal moment where we will now see a country that is going to realize who Kamala Harris truly is. And then, on top of that, what comes next? What do Democrats, if it's that big a disaster, what comes next?
Yeah, I hope and pray that it's Joe Biden 2.0 debate performance. It's going to be in a different way, though, you know. She can string sentences together, but that's the problem. She strings too many sentences together, and she just doesn't have an actual coherent thought and point to get across in her word salad. So, Donald Trump, I know you're watching this. Just kidding, probably not. Make sure you stay calm, cool, collected. Just answer the questions. Focus on the future. Don't fall into any of the traps from George Stephanopoulos, whatever his name is.
Well, it's David Muir is the one.
Oh, is it David Muir? Oh, thank goodness. Okay.
But here's
he's not nearly as bad, but he's still bad.
Here's what I would say about Trump. You don't tell him anything. He knows. He knows exactly what to do.
Just be the same way he was.
He's fine. He's fine. He's good. He's got this easy.
And he's got to be careful because there was a couple little snipes he took at Biden, which works for Biden, but for someone like Kamala, who's this frail, like very insecure woman,
they're gonna find
that's what they're going to use. That's what they're going to use as the viral moment. Stay away from it.
They'll find something. Yeah, they'll find something that he says, and they'll listen. The AP was the one that said that JD Vance talked about the reality of their school. I mean, listen, if the AP is willing to do that, what's ABC willing to do? And how are people going to be able to clip something that Trump says and then run with it as something that he didn't say?
And then the latest attack, because they don't have anything on JD Vance, is he was swimming in the pool with a shirt on. Well, it's actually one of those UV protective shirts. Hey, newsflash for people that don't understand the skin of white people, such as me and JD Vance. We wear those protective long sleeve sun and waterproof shirts all the time. I go out in the boat in Florida summer, I'm wearing that shirt because we'll get skin cancer if we don't. So if that's all you got, if that's your only attack, oh boy.
Yeah, news flash for everybody when it comes to me wearing those type of shirts. I do that to protect people's eyes because nobody needs to see me shirtless. Not even my wife wants to see me shirtless. That's a whole other story. We'll get to that another day.
I'm sure about 30 years ago when you were in your prime, you looked great, Drew. Nope, not even then.
Nope.
Okay. Well, God bless your wife then.
Yeah, you got that right.
Alrighty, that's going to do it for today's episode of Florida's Voice. We're going to be back again live tomorrow, 6 a.m. for Florida's Voice Radio with Drew Steele. And then at 9 a.m., you get to see my face for Florida's Voice, the podcast with Brennan Leslie and Drew Steele. Thank you so much. God bless. Thank you for joining, and we'll see you tomorrow morning.